In every corner of our ancient world, there are questions that refuse to die. Beneath layers of dust and time lie ruins, artifacts, and whispers, remnants of civilizations that seem to defy everything we thought we knew about history, technology, and human potential. Structures carved with mathematical precision before the invention of math. Stones transported across mountains without wheels or machines. Messages etched in forgotten scripts, written by hands we can no longer name. Who built them? Why? And more hauntingly, how? These aren't just gaps in our textbooks. They are gaping wounds in our understanding of the past. The kind of mysteries that don't just confuse. They challenge. They unsettle. They make us question whether history, as we know it, is just the surface of something far deeper. Was there a lost chapter in the human story, one buried beneath ash, ocean, or denial? Tonight, we're going to uncover it. So sit back, relax, and let's dive deep into the most confounding ancient mysteries that science still can't explain. Beneath the restless waves of the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere between myth and memory, lies the shadow of a world long lost to time. The story begins with Plato. Around 360 BCE, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, the philosopher recounts a tale passed down through generations of a mighty island nation beyond the Pillars of Heracles, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. Atlantis, he wrote, was a land of immense power, advanced architecture, and moral sophistication, a utopia carved from concentric rings of land and sea, where golden statues shimmered in the sun and vast temples rose high above the earth. But, in a single day and night of misfortune, it vanished beneath the sea. Was this merely allegory, a cautionary tale about hubris, greed, and the downfall of civilizations? Or could it be a fragment of distorted memory, echoing a real event buried deep in prehistory? Archaeologists and historians have long debated the question. Some believe Plato invented Atlantis entirely to illustrate his political ideas. Others suggest he may have drawn on older Egyptian records, brought to Greece by Solon, a lawmaker and traveler who visited the temples of Sais centuries earlier. According to the priests, Atlantis was already a forgotten memory, its destruction taking place over 9,000 years before Solon's time. If true, such a timeline would place Atlantis long before any known civilization, before the pyramids, before Sumer, before recorded history itself. Over the centuries, seekers and scholars have searched the globe for traces of this enigmatic world. Some point to the volcanic island of Santorini, once home to the Minoan civilization. There, in the Aegean Sea, a catastrophic eruption around 1600 BCE shattered the island and its people, an event eerily reminiscent of Plato's tale. Could this be the true Atlantis, obscured by the veil of time and poetic license? Others look further afield, the coasts of Spain and Morocco, the submerged landmasses of the Azores, or the Caribbean basin. Modern satellite imagery has revealed unusual underwater formations, prompting fresh waves of speculation. Are these natural formations, or remnants of ancient harbors and structures worn by millennia of tides? And then, there are the more fringe possibilities, ideas often dismissed but never fully disproven. Some propose that Atlantis was part of a prehistoric global civilization, connected by knowledge lost in a forgotten cataclysm. That ancient maps, like the Piri Reis chart, hint at an understanding of geography far beyond their time. That tales of a great flood, found in cultures across the world, may point to a shared trauma, a memory of something devastating and real. No definitive proof has ever surfaced. No ruins, no inscriptions, no unambiguous clues. And yet, the mystery persists. Why does Atlantis continue to captivate us? Perhaps because it feels just barely out of reach, like a dream we almost remember. a world that could have been, or once was, just beyond the edge of our knowledge. And so we're left with the same question that haunted Plato's readers more than 2,000 years ago. Did Atlantis truly exist? Or is its absence the greatest clue of all? And while the ruins of Atlantis remain elusive, buried beneath legend and sea, somewhere far from the ocean's reach, another ancient enigma rises from the dust of time. High on a windswept hill in southeastern Turkey, near the modern-day city of Şanlıurfa, a barren landscape stretches in every direction. Dry grass sways gently beneath a pale sky. To the untrained eye, it seems unremarkable, quiet, even forgotten. But beneath this soil lies Göbekli Tepe, the oldest known temple complex on Earth. First uncovered in the 1990s, Göbekli Tepe shattered conventional timelines. Radiocarbon dating placed its construction at nearly 12,000 years ago, millennia before the pyramids, Stonehenge, or even the rise of agriculture. Massive T-shaped stone pillars, some weighing over 10 tons, stand in circular arrangements, carved with intricate reliefs of animals, abstract symbols, and humanoid forms. How, and more importantly, why, did people of the Stone Age, nomadic hunter-gatherers with no known writing, metal tools, or domesticated animals, manage to build something so complex, so deliberate, and so vast? Traditional narratives tell us that monumental architecture came after settled farming communities, that religion followed civilization. But Göbekli Tepe suggests the opposite, that belief, ritual, may have come first, that humans may have gathered not just to survive, but to worship, to mark something sacred, to build meaning before they built cities. Archaeologists have excavated only a small fraction of the site, revealing dozens of these massive megaliths arranged in mysterious patterns. Some of the carvings are clear, foxes, snakes, birds, but others seem symbolic or astronomical. One pillar, known as Pillar 43, depicts a series of animals beneath a strange disc, which some researchers interpret as a form of proto-calendar, or even a memory of a cosmic event, like a comet strike. Still, much remains unknown. There is no writing to guide us, no graves, no clear answers. Mainstream archaeologists suggest Göbekli Tepe was a ritual center, built by scattered groups who returned seasonally for ceremonies. But other theories drift beyond the academic. Some see encoded messages in the carvings, others propose lost technologies, ancient knowledge forgotten in the sweep of time. Was this truly the work of isolated foragers, or the legacy of a civilization older than any we've imagined? And why was it buried? At some point, long after its use, Göbekli Tepe was deliberately entombed beneath layers of earth, a massive effort to hide it, protect it, or erase it. Was it abandoned and forgotten? Or was something else at work? We still don't know. Today, as new layers are unearthed, the mystery deepens. With each pillar raised from the soil, more questions emerge than answers. And somewhere in that silence, between stone and sky, one can almost feel the presence of something ancient, watching, waiting to be understood. What was Göbekli Tepe? A temple? A turning point in human consciousness? Or a message from a world we no longer remember? The past isn't gone. It's just buried, waiting. And while Göbekli Tepe challenges our understanding of when civilization began, another mystery, far to the east, asks a quieter, yet equally profound question. How do you understand a people if you cannot read their words? In the dry riverbeds of what was once the fertile Indus Valley, the remnants of a forgotten world lie buried in the earth. Among the dust-covered bricks of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, in what is now modern-day Pakistan and northwest India, archaeologists have uncovered the bones of a civilization that thrived more than 4,000 years ago, and then vanished. It was vast, advanced, and astonishingly modern. The cities were laid out in orderly grids with multi-story buildings, public baths, drainage systems, and standardized weights. Evidence of trade routes stretching to Mesopotamia. Artifacts of craftsmanship and culture. A society of organization and order. But what they believed, what they dreamed, feared, recorded, we simply do not know, because their writing, if it is writing at all, remains unread. Etched into soapstone seals, pottery, tablets, and tools are rows of tiny symbols, often just a handful per inscription, delicate, deliberate, and consistent. They show animals, geometric shapes, human-like figures, and markings unlike any known alphabet. Some appear to be ideograms, others pictographs. But no bilingual key has ever been found, no Rosetta Stone to unlock their meaning. Scholars have long debated whether this constitutes a true writing system. Some believe it was a proto-script, symbols used for trade or religious identity, but lacking grammar or sentence structure. Others argue it was a full, complex language now lost to time, waiting for the right breakthrough to be read again. Why can't we decipher it? The brevity of the inscriptions offers few clues. Most are just 4 or 5 symbols long, too short for traditional linguistic analysis. The script also doesn't appear to evolve over time, as other writing systems do. And because the civilization left behind no known descendants who preserved the language, it sits isolated, disconnected from the tree of written history. Speculation fills the gaps. Some have proposed that the script encoded spiritual or ritual knowledge meant only for the initiated. Others suggest it was used alongside a spoken language that has long since disappeared. There are even fringe theories that it represents an entirely different mode of communication, or that its meaning is symbolic rather than phonetic. And then, there's the greatest mystery of all. What caused the civilization to collapse? Around 1900 BCE, the cities were gradually abandoned. Climate change, shifting rivers, or internal decline, no one can say for sure. And with them, the script faded too. Today, we're left with fragments, seals tucked away in museum drawers, symbols etched in forgotten stone, thousands of silent messages staring back at us across the chasm of time. What were they trying to say? Were they counting goods, invoking gods, recording history, or something else entirely? Until we can read their words, the soul of the Indus Valley remains a secret. A voice from the deep past, speaking in a language we no longer understand. And just as the Indus Valley script remains a silent witness to a forgotten tongue, some mysteries are not etched in stone at all, but hidden deep within living wilderness. For there are places on this earth where time doesn't just pass, it swallows. Vast, humid, and dense beyond comprehension, the Amazon rainforest stretches like a living ocean of green across South America. Beneath its towering canopy, sunlight barely touches the forest floor. Rivers twist and vanish into the undergrowth. The air is thick with the scent of decay and life in constant tension. It is a place of secrets, and among its most enduring is the legend of the lost city of Z. For British explorer Percy Fawcett, this wasn't just a tale, it was a calling. In the early 20th century, Fawcett ventured into the Amazon in search of a ruined city he believed had once stood deep in the jungle, an advanced civilization hidden from the eyes of the modern world. He called it simply Z. Guided by ancient manuscripts, indigenous accounts, and the strange artifacts he encountered, Fawcett believed Z would rival the great cities of antiquity, its people skilled in mathematics, astronomy, perhaps even something more. In 1925, Fawcett vanished into the rainforest, along with his son and a small team, never to be seen again. What happened to them remains one of the greatest exploration mysteries of the 20th century. But even more haunting is the question he left behind. Was he wrong, or simply too early? For decades, Fawcett's ideas were dismissed as fantasy, colonial delusions of grandeur, projections onto a landscape too wild and hostile for organized civilization. The dominant belief was that the Amazon, with its poor soil and extreme conditions, could never have supported a large, complex society. But in recent years, science has begun to catch up with speculation. Using satellite imagery and LiDAR scanning, researchers have uncovered vast networks of geoglyphs, causeways, and urban-like layouts buried beneath centuries of jungle growth. Hidden mounds and straight-line ditches suggest planning, intent. Evidence of agriculture, roads, and even possible ceremonial centers paints a picture far different from what was once believed. Is this Z? Or 1,000 smaller Zs scattered across a forgotten Amazonian empire? Still, much remains hidden. The jungle reclaims quickly, and many of these sites are nearly inaccessible. The few that have been partially uncovered suggest a society both highly adapted to its environment and mysteriously vanished, long before European contact and with little trace. Could there have been knowledge here we've yet to rediscover? Maps and myths passed down in the oral traditions of indigenous groups hint at something more. Structures made of stone and earth, places of power and purpose. And what of Fawcett himself? Did he find something and choose to stay? Or did the forest, like the mystery, simply close around him? The lost city of Z lingers in the imagination because it speaks to something deeper, a whisper from the uncharted, reminding us that not all civilizations leave monuments. Some leave only questions. And as the dense, tangled forests of the Amazon hold whispers of vanished empires, far across the ocean, on the sun-baked coasts of southern Spain, another silence lingers, older than Rome, yet almost completely forgotten. Near the mouth of the Guadalquivir River, where the land flattens into wide, marshy plains, and the Atlantic breeze carries the scent of salt and distant memory, once stood a city said to shimmer with gold. Its name was Tartessos. Mentioned in ancient Greek texts and Hebrew scriptures alike, Tartessos was described as a land of immense wealth, a place where silver flowed so abundantly it was said to be worthless. Herodotus spoke of it. So did Strabo and Evienius. The Old Testament may even reference it as Tarshish, a distant trading port where ships brought back treasures from across the known world. But what was Tartessos, and why did it vanish? By the first millennium BCE, Tartessos had become one of the Western Mediterranean's great mysteries, a culture both part of the ancient world and curiously apart from it. Archaeological discoveries suggest they were skilled metalworkers, traders, and perhaps seafarers, maintaining contact with Phoenicians and Greeks. Their artistic style blended Eastern motifs with local flair. Their language, still undeciphered. Their script, known only from a handful of inscriptions, remains untranslated. Unlike Rome or Egypt, Tartessos left behind no grand temples, no preserved cities of stone. What survives are fragments, ornate gold jewelry buried in tombs, river-worn stones with strange carvings, and hints of architecture now drowned beneath shifting landscapes. Some believe the Tartessians were a local culture who flourished for a time before being absorbed or destroyed, perhaps by war, perhaps by natural disaster. Others propose more dramatic ends: a massive flood, a tidal wave, a sudden collapse of trade routes that left their cities to decay in silence. And still, there are those who draw connections between Tartessos and older myths, speculating whether this was the inspiration behind Atlantis itself. A prosperous coastal civilization, vanishing suddenly, swallowed by the sea. Was Plato echoing memories of Tartessos, filtered through time and geography? Recent investigations near Doñana National Park, once part of a vast inland lagoon, have fueled speculation. Satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and soil analysis have revealed unusual geometric formations, suggestive of man-made structures now buried in mud and silt. Could these be the remnants of Tartessos? Or are they something older still? Despite decades of excavation, Tartessos remains elusive, half history, half legend. What kind of people lived there, trading silver and tin with the ancient world? What language did they speak, and what stories did they tell? Why, after centuries of influence, did they disappear so completely? The traces left behind are sparse. A few words carved into stone, a few pieces of finely worked gold, and the silence of the marshes, where the tides still come and go, washing over what once may have been the streets of a forgotten kingdom. Tartessos is not just a mystery of where, but why, and perhaps who. And just as the shimmering legacy of Tartessos fades into the marshes of southern Spain, we turn now to another ancient land, one whose monuments still dominate the desert, whose kings have names etched into eternity. Yet even here, in the heart of Egypt, there are secrets that lie buried, secrets that defy explanation. Southwest of Cairo, beyond the familiar grandeur of the Giza plateau, past the shadow of pyramids less visited by tourists, lies a forgotten plain near the village of Hawara. To the casual observer, it appears unremarkable. Low mounds of broken stone scattered across the arid ground. But ancient texts describe something altogether different once standing here. Something vast, something unlike anything else in Egypt or the ancient world. They called it the Labyrinth. First mentioned by Herodotus in the 5th century BCE, the Greek historian claimed to have seen it with his own eyes. He wrote of a building more impressive than the pyramids themselves. 12 great courts, thousands of interconnected chambers, passageways winding through 2 immense levels, one above ground, one below. And deep within the lower chambers, he claimed, were the tombs of kings and sacred crocodiles, sealed away from the world. Diodorus, Pliny the Elder, Strabo, others echoed similar descriptions. Some say the labyrinth was a temple, others a royal archive. Still others hint at something more esoteric, a structure built not just to confuse, but to protect, designed to conceal knowledge, rites, or truths meant only for the initiated. And yet, despite the vividness of these accounts, no trace of it remains, or so it seems. In the late 19th century, the famed Egyptologist Flinders Petrie excavated the area around Hawara. He discovered remnants of a vast platform, nearly 300 meters long, beneath which, he believed, the labyrinth once stood. Fragments of columns, intricate carvings, polished floors. But the structure itself was gone, dismantled in antiquity. Its stone repurposed, its halls collapsed, its history silenced. Or was it? In 2008, a team of researchers from Belgium and Egypt conducted ground-penetrating radar surveys of the area. What they found reignited interest. Beneath the surface, complex geometric anomalies, rectangular patterns suggestive of walls, rooms, or corridors, lie hidden under layers of sand and debris. Was this the lost labyrinth? Or yet another forgotten structure, waiting for its story to be told? Speculation abounds. Some propose that the labyrinth was a great library, housing sacred texts and knowledge from Egypt's earliest dynasties. Others believe it held records of pre-dynastic kings, or even civilizations before Egypt itself. More fringe theories connect it to Atlantis, secret societies, or encoded wisdom passed down from a forgotten age. But for all the stories, all the maps and measurements and satellite images, one truth remains. No modern excavation has fully uncovered what lies beneath Hawara. What was the purpose of such an immense and complex structure? Why was it buried, dismantled, erased from history? And what might still lie beneath that quiet plain of stone and sand? The lost labyrinth of Egypt continues to elude us, not just physically, but intellectually. A riddle carved in stone, then swept away, waiting, perhaps, for the right eyes to find it again. And from the buried riddle of Egypt's lost labyrinth, we move north, into the blazing sun and ever-stretching sands of the Giza Plateau. Here, nothing is hidden. The landscape declares itself openly, defiantly, as if daring the modern world to explain what it still cannot fully understand. Rising with impossible precision from the desert floor, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood for more than 4,500 years. Built for the pharaoh Khufu, or so tradition holds, it once soared to a height of 146 meters. Its sides aligned almost perfectly to the cardinal points of the compass, its base level to within a few centimeters. Constructed from over 2 million limestone and granite blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, it is the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. And yet, its greatest wonder may be not what we see, but what we still don't understand. How was it built? That question, simple yet persistent, has never been fully answered. Conventional archaeology suggests a system of ramps, levers, and vast manpower, tens of thousands of laborers working over 2 decades. But the logistical challenges remain staggering. The precision, the scale, the internal layout, which includes sloping passageways, hidden shafts, and chambers lined with polished granite hauled from quarries hundreds of kilometers away. And then, there's the curious fact that no definitive blueprint, no inscriptions within the pyramid, and no records from the time of construction have ever been found. The structure, in many ways, speaks for itself, and says nothing. Inside, the air is cool, still, and heavy with a silence that feels deliberate. The Grand Gallery, with its soaring corbelled ceiling, rises steeply toward the king's chamber, a stark rectangular room that contains only a single empty stone sarcophagus. The chamber is lined with massive granite slabs, so precisely set that modern engineers still debate how they were transported and placed. Above it, 5 so-called relieving chambers serve a structural purpose, but some suggest they may have a symbolic one as well. Others point to the air shafts, narrow passages leading from the king's and queen's chambers to the outside. Were they meant for ventilation, astronomical alignment, ritual? And then there is the Scan Pyramids project, a modern effort using muon tomography to peer inside the pyramid structure. In 2017, it revealed a previously unknown void, an empty space at least 30 meters long, situated above the Grand Gallery. What it is, or why it exists, remains unclear. Another tomb? A structural anomaly? A hidden chamber untouched for millennia? Speculation inevitably extends further. Some propose that the pyramid encoded mathematical constants, the speed of light, the value of pi, the golden ratio. Others argue it served not only as a tomb, but as an energy device, a celestial observatory, or even a repository of ancient knowledge lost to history. Mainstream scholars remain cautious, but even they admit, the Great Pyramid holds secrets we have yet to decipher. Why such precision? Why such effort for a single tomb? And why does it continue to speak to something deeper within us, generation after generation? The Great Pyramid does not ask for belief, it demands presence. And in that presence, one can't help but wonder, what else have we overlooked, simply because it has always been there? And while the Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a monument to mathematical precision in the desert, halfway across the world, high in the Andes, another enigma is carved not into the sky, but into the very bones of the earth. Above the city of Cusco in Peru, where the air is thin and the mountains stretch toward a crystalline sky, lies the ancient fortress of Sacsayhuamán. Its terraces wind across the hillside like the traces of a forgotten language, giant walls of stone interlocking with such precision that not even a blade of grass fits between them. Here, the mystery is not only what remains, but how it was made. The stones are massive, some weigh more than 100 tons, shaped with irregular angles, multifaceted faces, and interlocking corners. They appear melted, molded, or sculpted to fit, not by force, but by intention. No mortar holds them together, and yet they've withstood centuries of earthquakes that have flattened modern buildings nearby. The walls bend and curve, embracing the contours of the land, flowing like architecture that understands movement. Mainstream archaeology attributes the site to the Inca Empire, whose stonework was famously refined. But even among Incan ruins, Sacsayhuamán stands apart, grander in scale and older in feel. Some scholars believe the Inca inherited the site, expanding upon foundations laid by a civilization before them, one whose name has been lost, but whose stones remain. How did they cut these monoliths? What tools were used to create such flawless joints? And how were these immense blocks moved across rugged, uneven terrain, without the wheel, without draft animals? Modern experiments with chisels and levers can approximate some aspects, but questions remain. There are no surviving plans, no texts describing the methods, only the stones themselves, silent, patient, untouched by time. Some suggest that a deep understanding of stone was passed down through generations, knowledge that combined physical technique with careful study of natural fractures and mineral patterns. Others look further afield. Did these builders use heat, vibration, a lost technology no longer understood? And then there are the theories that step outside conventional frameworks entirely. That the stones were softened chemically, molded like clay. That sound frequencies played a role. That what we're seeing is not just engineering, but intention, geometry with purpose, a language written in mass and angle, meant to communicate something long forgotten. Sacsayhuamán is not just a wall, it is a statement, a challenge. It asks us not just how it was built, but why. Was it purely defensive, ceremonial, astronomical, or something stranger still, aligned with energies we no longer measure, calibrated to a worldview we no longer share? And why, with all our tools, can we not replicate its elegance? Perhaps the mystery of Sacsayhuamán is not in what is missing, but in what remains. Stone, shaped without arrogance, silent but unyielding. A message, perhaps, not meant to be read, but to be felt. And in that feeling, we are left to wonder, who were they really? And what did they know that we have since forgotten? And from the high ridges of the Andes, where Sacsayhuamán stones hold their silent symmetry, we journey eastward, to a place where the earth itself seems carved with impossible intent. In the Bekaa Valley of modern-day Lebanon, beneath the backdrop of distant mountains and olive groves, lie the colossal ruins of Baalbek. At first glance, Baalbek appears to be a Roman marvel. Towering Corinthian columns, remnants of what was once the grand temple of Jupiter, stretch toward the sky. But beneath these classical remains is something far older and far stranger. Massive stone blocks form the platform upon which the Roman temple was built. These are not ordinary foundation stones. 3 of them, known collectively as the Trilithon, each weigh around 800 tons. Nearby, partially buried in the earth, lies the even larger stone of the pregnant woman, estimated at over 1,000 tons. And more recently, yet another megalith was discovered still embedded in its quarry, heavier than them all. Cut, shaped, and moved with such precision and scale, these blocks pose questions that echo far beyond the stones themselves. How were they quarried and transported? Mainstream archaeology suggests a combination of ramps, rollers, and manpower. The Romans, certainly, had the engineering skill to construct monumental architecture, but many experts believe these blocks predate the Roman temple by centuries, possibly millennia. The precise dating remains unclear. No inscriptions link the megaliths to a known culture, and no ancient texts describe their construction. So we are left with theories. One posits that the stones were dragged from the quarry using wet sand, sledges, and teams of laborers. But even this explanation struggles under the sheer weight involved. The terrain between quarry and platform is uneven, with no clear evidence of such infrastructure. And once at the site, how were they lifted, aligned, and set with such precision? The blocks sit so tightly together that even today, a knife blade cannot slip between them. Their surfaces are flat, their angles sharp, as if the stone were cut not by crude tools, but by something more refined, more deliberate. Speculative ideas naturally follow. Some suggest that the megaliths are remnants of a much older, forgotten civilization, one whose knowledge of stonework surpassed what we typically associate with the ancient world. Others believe Baalbek was once a sacred or energetic center, its stones laid out to harness natural forces. There are even proposals linking it to biblical lore, suggesting that Baalbek was once known as the city of Cain, or even built by giants. And yet, no definitive answer has emerged. Why go to such lengths to move stones no one could see, buried beneath later temples? What purpose did they serve that justified such monumental effort? Was it architectural ambition, or was it something deeper? The Baalbek megaliths challenge not just our understanding of engineering, but of intention. They ask us to look closer, not just at how civilizations build, but why. And as the sun sets over the shattered columns and long-forgotten stones, one can't help but ask, what knowledge was once held in this place, now lost beneath centuries of silence and stone? And as the massive stones of Baalbek rest in silence, half buried in the soil of antiquity, we turn to a windswept plain far to the north, where another circle of stones rises from the mist, not buried, but standing, watching, as if waiting. On the grassy expanse of Salisbury Plain in southern England, surrounded by fields and sky, the ancient monument known as Stonehenge casts its long shadow over both land and time. The scene is stark, yet strangely serene. Giant sarsen stones, weathered by thousands of winters, stand in deliberate formation, some capped with lintels that seem to defy gravity. Around them, smaller bluestones, transported from over 150 miles away, form the inner rings. Stonehenge is a structure defined as much by what we don't know as by what we see. Built in stages over a span of more than 1,000 years, beginning as early as 3000 BCE, Stonehenge predates the written word in Britain. No records exist to explain who built it or why, and yet its construction displays a knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and landscape alignment that continues to astonish. The stones are arranged with astonishing precision. On the summer solstice, the rising sun aligns perfectly with the heel stone, casting its light through the heart of the monument. Similar alignments mark the winter solstice and other celestial events. Was this a calendar, a ceremonial observatory, a site for rituals marking life, death, and the turning of the seasons? Archaeological evidence suggests Stonehenge was part of a much larger sacred landscape, connected to other sites via pathways, ditches, and timber structures. Nearby Durrington Walls, for instance, shows signs of feasting and gathering, perhaps hinting at pilgrimage or ritual use. Human remains found at the site also suggest it may have served as a kind of burial ground, though not exclusively. But the methods of construction remain as perplexing as the purpose. How were the multi-ton stones transported across miles of countryside, without wheels or draft animals? Were they dragged, rolled, floated along rivers? And once there, how were they raised into place, some standing over 20 feet tall? Traditional explanations point to ingenious engineering and collective labor. Yet the effort involved, spanning generations, suggests something more than practicality, something deeply symbolic. And so, speculation steps in. Some propose Stonehenge was a site of healing, its stones believed to hold mystical properties. Others suggest it marked a connection between the heavens and the earth, an ancient astronomical computer of sorts. Fringe theories go further, imagining lost civilizations, extraterrestrial contact, or forgotten energies encoded in stone. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. The builders of Stonehenge were not primitive. They were deliberate, visionary. Their stones still stand where they placed them, enduring wind, time, and uncertainty. Why did they build it? What did they see when they looked to the sky, when they stood in the center, surrounded by giants of their own making? Stonehenge offers no easy answers, only the quiet, haunting certainty that we are not the first to wonder. And just as the stones of Stonehenge reach upward, aligned with the cycles of sun and season, deep in the desert of Upper Egypt, a different kind of mystery lies below the surface, hidden in shadow, carved into the bedrock, as though it were never meant to be seen by the world above. Tucked behind the grand temple of Seti the Fern in Abydos, partially submerged and often overlooked, stands the Osirion, a subterranean monument whose design and construction continue to puzzle archaeologists and historians alike. Unlike the refined elegance of nearby pharaonic temples, the Osirion is stark and imposing. Its core structure is built from massive granite blocks, some weighing up to 60 tons, placed with striking precision. The pillars are squared, monolithic, and bare, their simplicity contrasting sharply with the elaborate reliefs of the Seti temple above. There are no inscriptions to guide us, no grand declarations of purpose. The Osirion speaks not through words, but through weight and silence. Mainstream Egyptology attributes the structure to the reign of Seti the Fern, around the 13th century BCE. Indeed, the temple above bears his cartouche, and a connecting passage links the two complexes. But questions quickly emerge. The architectural style of the Osirion is markedly different, megalithic, austere, and seemingly older in form. Some scholars suggest it may have been a symbolic tomb for the god Osiris, echoing myths of death, rebirth, and the underworld. Yet the granite used in its construction had to be transported from Aswan, over 100 miles to the south, a monumental task even for Egypt's seasoned builders. And the site's position, below the water table, means that even in ancient times, it would have been partially flooded. Was this deliberate? Did the builders mean for the monument to interact with water, to reflect, submerge, or echo something deeper than architectural intent? More speculative voices ask whether the Osirion is far older than Seti's time. Some note similarities between its megalithic design and pre-dynastic structures found in other parts of the world. Was this, they wonder, a repurposed site, adopted by the Egyptians, but built long before them, by a civilization whose memory has vanished? Then there's the so-called Flower of Life, a geometric pattern etched lightly into one of the granite pillars. Though likely added much later, its presence has sparked modern fascination, with claims of sacred geometry, hidden knowledge, and mathematical resonance embedded within the stone itself. Yet, amid the speculation, the Osirion remains defiantly opaque. Why build such a monumental structure in such an inaccessible location? Why the absence of inscriptions in a culture obsessed with recording every detail of its sacred architecture? And what, truly, was the purpose of this place? Buried, flooded, and forgotten? Perhaps the Osirion was meant to remain hidden. a sacred chamber not for the living, but for gods and myth. Or perhaps it is a fragment of a deeper story, one we've only begun to uncover. Its stones do not answer. They simply endure. And in their silence, they ask a question we still cannot escape. How much of the past have we truly remembered, and how much have we yet to rediscover? And while the Osirion lies hidden beneath the sands of Egypt, whispering from the deep past in carved granite and shadowed silence, another mystery rests far beneath the sea, carved, it seems, from the very bedrock of the earth, and revealed only by accident. Off the southern coast of Japan, near the remote island of Yonaguni, divers exploring coral reefs in the mid-1980s discovered something extraordinary. A vast underwater formation, angular and tiered, as if sculpted by deliberate hands. It quickly became known as the Yonaguni Monument, and ever since, it has hovered in that curious space between geology and archaeology, between nature and lost civilization. Submerged beneath nearly 25 meters of water, the monument appears like a sunken ziggurat. Its broad, flat platforms, straight-edged steps, and perfectly linear walls rise from the ocean floor with startling symmetry. The angles are sharp, the corners precise. Wide terraces lead to what some describe as stairways. Flat plains intersect at 90-degree angles, and massive stone blocks seem to form passageways and corridors. One feature, dubbed the stage, resembles an altar. Another, a stepped pyramid. Could this truly be natural? Some geologists believe so. They argue that the monument is a product of natural fracturing, sandstone shaped by tectonic movement and erosion, overlaid with millennia of wave action. In a region prone to seismic activity, straight lines and sharp breaks, they suggest, are not unusual. The sea, after all, has its own artistry. But others are not so certain. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura, who spent years studying the site, has identified what he believes are stone roads, retaining walls, and even carved symbols, features that he claims could not have formed naturally. He proposes that the monument was once part of a coastal city, built over 10,000 years ago, before the end of the last ice age, when sea levels were significantly lower. If true, it would suggest a civilization far older and more advanced than anything currently known from the region. One that predates ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, and would challenge the entire timeline of human development. But evidence remains elusive. No tools, no pottery, no human remains have been recovered. Just the shape, the structure, and the enigma. Is it a case of pareidolia, the human tendency to see patterns and meaning in natural forms, or are we glimpsing the submerged ruins of a culture lost to rising seas and time? Speculation stretches further still. Some draw connections to ancient flood myths, echoes of a time when the ocean swallowed entire worlds. Others suggest Yonaguni could be a remnant of Mu or Lemuria, hypothetical lost continents theorized to have once existed in the Pacific. Such ideas drift on the edge of history and imagination, compelling precisely because they refuse to be proven or disproven. What do we make of a monument that offers no clear origin, no name, no language? As currents pass silently over stone, the Yonaguni Monument remains still, massive, unmoving, unanswered, a riddle beneath the waves. And so we ask, was this place ever touched by human hands? Or is nature itself trying to tell a story we've yet to understand? And as we leave behind the Yonaguni Monument, still submerged in saltwater and mystery, we now rise into the hills of Western India, where stone tells a different story. Not of erosion or seismic fracture, but of purposeful removal. A structure not built with stone, but from it. In the small town of Ellora, carved into the rocky cliffs of the Sahyadri Hills, stands one of the most astonishing architectural achievements in human history, the Kailasa Temple. It does not sit atop the rock. It was not assembled stone by stone. Instead, it was carved downward from a single, solid basalt cliff. Over 200,000 tons of stone are believed to have been removed, meticulously, with almost surgical precision, to reveal an ornate, freestanding temple complex, complete with pillars, shrines, courtyards, staircases, and intricate sculptures, all hewn from the living mountain. Dedicated to Lord Shiva, Kailasa is part of the larger Ellora Caves complex, which includes over 30 monasteries and temples, Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain, all carved into the same vertical rock face. But Kailasa stands apart, not only in scale, but in complexity. Conventional accounts attribute the temple to the 8th century Rashtrakuta king Krishna I, who, according to inscriptions, commissioned its construction. But here, the timeline invites questions. Some estimates suggest the excavation and carving would have taken centuries, even with an army of artisans working year-round. Yet legend holds that it was completed in a fraction of that time, 18 years, according to some stories. Is that even possible? How were ancient craftsmen able to plan such a precise excavation from the top down without modern tools, blueprints, or machinery? A single miscalculation, one angle slightly off, one pillar placed incorrectly, and the entire structure could have collapsed or been rendered unusable. And then there are the details. Sculptures of deities and mythological scenes wrap around the temple walls, fluid, expressive, alive with movement. Elephants appear to support the temple's base. Columns rise with perfect symmetry. Chambers echo with balance. All this, carved not as assembled pieces, but as a single, continuous creation. There are no joints, no seams, only stone shaped by human vision, and perhaps something more. Some have speculated whether ancient builders possessed forgotten techniques, acoustic tools, or methods of softening stone. Others have wondered whether the site predates its official timeline, built upon earlier foundations that stretch further into the past than we dare imagine. No written records remain to explain how it was done. No detailed plans, just the monument itself, towering in silence, untouched by time. Was it pure devotion that guided the hands of its makers? Was it ambition, artistry, or something we no longer understand? The Kailasa temple offers no answers, only awe. And as light falls through the high walls of the carved courtyard, one is left to wonder, is this the legacy of extraordinary craftsmanship, or a message from an age of mastery we have yet to rediscover? And from the sunlit courtyards of Kailasa, carved down through sacred basalt, we now move beneath the surface of the earth, into darkness, into silence, into a mystery unearthed not by archaeologists or scholars, but by chance. In the quiet village of Xi'an in China's Zhejiang province, a curious discovery was made in 1992. Locals, draining what they believed were ordinary ponds, uncovered something entirely unexpected: vast, hand-carved chambers hidden beneath the water. As more were revealed, a deeper truth emerged. These were not natural caves. They were the Longyou Caves, an underground complex unlike anything else in China or the ancient world. Today, 24 of these chambers have been found. Each is massive in scale, some reaching up to 30 meters in height. The walls, ceilings, and supporting pillars are carved with remarkable uniformity, all bearing the same distinctive pattern: parallel, diagonal chisel marks that cover every surface with mathematical precision. And yet, not a single historical record exists to explain them. No ancient text, no oral tradition, no name attached to their creation. For a country with such a rich and meticulously chronicled history, the silence surrounding the Longyou Caves is as astonishing as the structures themselves. Why were they built? Who created them? And how, with tools believed to be available at the time, were such enormous spaces excavated so flawlessly? Conservative estimates suggest over 1 million cubic meters of stone were removed, by hand, and with no trace left behind. There are no signs of where the debris was taken, no nearby spoil heaps, no supporting infrastructure. The logistics of such an operation, even today, would be daunting. Mainstream theories propose they may have been ancient storage sites, underground shelters, or even tombs. Though no human remains, artifacts or markings have ever been found within. Others suggest they may have had ceremonial purposes or were part of an ancient engineering experiment lost to time. Still, the mysteries persist. Why the uniformity? Why the sheer scale and effort, if not for something of great significance? And why have these chambers remained hidden, completely unknown for thousands of years, even to those who lived directly above them? More speculative voices suggest the caves may be older than we think, constructed by a civilization long vanished, perhaps one whose history was never recorded or was deliberately erased. Some draw comparisons to other megalithic sites around the world, wondering if there could have been a forgotten era of global knowledge, a time when stone and silence spoke louder than words. There is no evidence for this, but there is also no evidence against it. The Longyou Caves remain among the most perplexing man-made structures ever found, not because of what they contain, but because of what they don't. No inscriptions, no artifacts, no narrative, just carved stone, flawless symmetry, and endless silence. And so the question lingers. Were these halls shaped by ritual, by necessity, or by hands guided by a purpose we can no longer comprehend? Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. Beneath the soil of a quiet Chinese village lies a story we still haven't begun to understand. And as the Longyou Caves retreat into the quiet of the earth, a new mystery rises from the depths of the sea, a riddle not carved into stone, but crafted from metal and gears. In the warm waters off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera, divers in 1901 recovered an object that would forever change our understanding of ancient technology. What they found was a corroded and fragmented mechanism, now known as the Antikythera Mechanism, a device so complex that it would remain largely incomprehensible for decades. At first glance, the object seems unremarkable, just a collection of bronze gears corroded into what appears to be a haphazard pile of scrap metal. But upon closer inspection, the structure begins to reveal a hidden intricacy. The gears, precise and finely crafted, are arranged in a way that suggests an advanced understanding of mechanics and astronomy. Some of the teeth on the gears are so small and fine that only modern tools could replicate their precision. Today, we understand that the Antikythera Mechanism is an ancient analog computer, designed to predict the movements of the stars, planets, and even the cycles of the moon. It is believed to have been built around 100 BCE, though its design and function point to a sophistication far beyond what was thought possible for the time. The device contains a system of 30 interlocking bronze gears, housed in a wooden frame the size of a shoebox. It is thought to have been used for tracking astronomical events, perhaps to predict eclipses or the positions of the planets, and might have been part of a larger tradition of Greek technological innovation. It's one of the earliest known examples of geared mechanisms, a technology that would not resurface in Europe until the Middle Ages, over 1,000 years later. But while its function has been partially understood, many questions remain unanswered. How did the ancient Greeks develop such a device, and why? The complexity of the Antikythera Mechanism suggests a knowledge of mechanical engineering that seems out of place in the ancient world. Was it the product of a singular genius, or part of a long-lost tradition of scientific discovery, whose knowledge has been lost to time? Some speculate that the mechanism was not just an astronomical tool, but a navigational aid, guiding ships through the starry sky, allowing sailors to track time and their position in the vast Mediterranean. Others suggest it was a form of ancient computing, used to calculate and map not just the heavens, but perhaps a deeper, more hidden understanding of time itself. The biggest mystery, however, may lie in the question of its origins. The device is incredibly sophisticated, yet no other examples of similar technology have been found in the ancient world. Was the Antikythera Mechanism a product of an isolated, advanced civilization? Or was it the result of knowledge passed down from a lost or forgotten tradition? Some even entertain the possibility of influence from a civilization far older than the Greeks, perhaps one whose advancements were erased by time, war, or natural disaster. How could such knowledge, so advanced for its time, be lost to history, only to be rediscovered a century ago? And what does the existence of the Antikythera Mechanism say about the true capabilities of ancient civilizations? We are left to wonder, was this device an anomaly, or a glimpse into a forgotten age of scientific brilliance, buried beneath layers of history, awaiting rediscovery? The Antikythera Mechanism continues to ask questions it cannot yet answer. And from the intricate gears of the Antikythera Mechanism, we turn our gaze eastward, toward an object so simple in appearance, yet so enigmatic in its implications, that it has challenged our understanding of ancient technology for over a century. In the heart of Iraq, just outside the city of Baghdad, a small but curious artifact was unearthed in 1938 by an archaeologist named Wilhelm Koenig. What he found was a clay jar, not unlike many other pottery vessels found in ancient digs. But inside this jar, nestled among its contents, was a small copper cylinder, along with an iron rod and a cork. Together, these elements formed a simple, yet intriguing device. It was quickly dubbed the Baghdad Battery. At first, the object seemed unremarkable, just another relic from the distant past. However, as Koenig and later researchers began to study it, something remarkable began to emerge. It appeared that this ancient jar might have once functioned as a rudimentary galvanic cell, a primitive battery. The mechanism was simple, but effective. When filled with an acidic solution, like vinegar or wine, the copper and iron components would react chemically to produce a small electrical current. This would have created a mild electrical charge, enough to be used in rudimentary electrical applications. The implications were profound. If the Baghdad Battery was indeed a form of battery, it would predate the invention of the electric battery by more than 2,000 years, a feat of technology that was not seen again until the 18th century, with Alessandro Volta's invention of the modern battery. But the questions soon piled up. What was the battery used for? There is no record or written documentation explaining its purpose. Some researchers believe it could have been used for electroplating, an ancient method of coating objects with thin layers of metal. Others have suggested it might have had religious or ceremonial uses, possibly generating a small electrical shock to induce a trance-like state or as a form of divine power. More speculative theories propose that the Baghdad Battery was used for something far more extraordinary, such as serving as a power source for unknown devices, or perhaps even as a tool for medical procedures, like cauterizing wounds. Still others suggest that the knowledge required to create such a device was part of a lost or forgotten science, hidden from history. But if the Baghdad Battery was indeed an electrical device, why did it not evolve into a widespread technology in the ancient world? Why was it forgotten for millennia? The artifact raises as many questions as it answers. Could it be that this was just a singular, isolated instance of early experimentation with electricity? Or could there have been more advanced devices hidden beneath layers of history, their knowledge lost to time, war, or neglect? And if this was a battery, what other technologies were the ancient civilizations capable of, but failed to pass on? The Baghdad Battery, with its simple design, remains an enduring mystery, a small artifact that has sparked debates over the true technological prowess of ancient cultures. It leaves us to wonder, what else might have been discovered in the ancient world, knowledge and innovation that has yet to be uncovered or has been deliberately concealed? The answer, like so many ancient mysteries, remains just out of reach. And as we leave behind the Baghdad Battery, a tool of ancient electrical wonder, we now turn our attention to something far more delicate, an object so small, yet so charged with mystery, that it has sparked decades of debate among archaeologists, engineers, and theorists alike. In the sands of Saqqara, an ancient necropolis just south of Cairo, a peculiar discovery was made in 1898. During an excavation of a tomb belonging to the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, a small, intricately carved object was found, a bird-like figure, its wings spread wide as if preparing for flight. The object, made of wood and with traces of gold leaf, was initially assumed to be a simple ornament or a model of some kind. But over time, it would come to be known as the Saqqara Bird, and it would come to symbolize one of the most perplexing mysteries of ancient technology. At first glance, the bird seems relatively straightforward, its form clearly inspired by a bird in flight, with long, pointed wings and a body tapering to a beak. It's a striking piece, expertly crafted, but what draws the most attention is something that doesn't seem to fit. Two small, carefully placed holes at the back of the figure. When scholars began to study the Saqqara bird more closely, they realized that these holes were not random. They appeared to be functional, perhaps part of a larger system designed to interact with wind or air currents. Some speculated that the object was not just a simple ornament, but a model of flight, perhaps even a scale model of an ancient aircraft. Others thought it might have been a symbolic representation of flight, linking it to Egyptian mythology, where birds were often seen as symbols of the soul's journey to the afterlife. But things took an even more curious turn when engineers, curious about the bird's potential aerodynamics, began to experiment with it. Some claimed that if the Saqqara bird were mounted on a rod or a string and released from a certain height, it would glide through the air in a manner resembling the flight of a plane. The bird, in these experiments, appeared to have some aerodynamic properties, suggesting that its ancient creators might have understood concepts of flight and air movement in ways that defied conventional historical knowledge. Was this just the result of artistic inspiration, or did it suggest something far more extraordinary? Could this small artifact actually be a prototype for flight? Was it a symbolic object, a talisman of the heavens, or could it represent an ancient attempt to harness the forces of air and lift? The possibilities seem endless. Mainstream explanations focus on the Saqqara bird being a simple model or toy, perhaps even a ceremonial object related to Egyptian beliefs about flight or the afterlife. But the debate doesn't stop there. Some have proposed that the bird was a functional flying model, perhaps a distant ancestor to the gliders of later centuries, lost to history until modern archaeology unearthed it. Others point to the absence of clear evidence for such technology in ancient Egypt, suggesting that it was more likely an artistic or religious symbol rather than a practical tool. Yet, despite the many theories, there is no definitive answer. No inscriptions or written records explain the bird's purpose, and no other similar objects have been found in such a context. As a result, the Saqqara bird has remained a riddle, a tantalizing glimpse into an ancient world that might have understood flight in ways that we have yet to fully comprehend. What if the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge or tools that we have long forgotten? What if this bird was part of a broader tradition of flight experimentation, lost to the sands of time? Or was it simply a product of ancient imagination, far more symbolic than practical, crafted to honor the gods and the mysteries of the sky? As the Saqqara bird rests in the museum today, its wings spread wide in stillness, it invites us to ask, what other secrets might be hidden in the artifacts of the past, waiting for us to unlock them, one mystery at a time? And as the Saqqara Bird flutters silently in the museum, suspended in time, another mysterious object stirs from the depths of the ancient world, one not found on museum shelves, but buried beneath the earth in a remote corner of China. Here, in the mountains of Bayan Karaula, a discovery would be made in the 1930s that has captivated researchers, dreamers, and conspiracy theorists for decades. The object in question is known as the Dropa Stones, small, round discs, each no larger than a dinner plate, found hidden in a series of caves in the Bayan Karaula mountain range, which straddles the border between China and Tibet. At first glance, these stones appear unremarkable, rough, ancient, and worn by time. However, it is the markings etched into their surfaces that have caused such intrigue. Each stone bears a series of spiral grooves, spiraling inward toward the center, resembling a kind of writing or code. The story of the Dropa Stones begins with a group of archaeologists led by Dr. Chi Pu Te, who, in 1938, unearthed these strange discs from the caves. According to the accounts, the stones were unlike anything previously seen. When researchers tried to decipher the markings, they were met with frustration. The symbols did not resemble any known script or language. But it wasn't just their design that raised eyebrows, it was the stories surrounding their discovery. Local legends spoke of an ancient extraterrestrial encounter, that the Dropa people, a mysterious tribe living in the region long ago, had been visited by beings from the stars. The stones, it was suggested, were a form of communication left behind by these visitors. Some speculated that the grooves on the stones were not just writing, but a star map, guiding their visitors back to the distant world from which they had come. Further intrigue emerged when researchers noticed that, despite the apparent age of the stones, their material was unlike any typical stone used by humans of that era. The Dropa stones were composed of a metal alloy unknown to the local region, and their smooth, polished surfaces were far more refined than would have been possible for the tribespeople who supposedly created them. Were these truly ancient artifacts, or could they have come from somewhere else entirely? Some interpretations suggest that the markings might represent a form of proto-writing, an ancient communication system not yet recognized by modern linguists. Others have gone further, suggesting that the grooves may be a form of binary code, similar to the type of encoding used in modern computers, a striking connection to the idea that the stones may have been tools or records left by a far more advanced civilization, potentially from another world. Mainstream scholars, however, are far more skeptical. Many dismiss the idea of extraterrestrial involvement, suggesting that the stones could simply be an ancient, undeciphered script from a lost culture. Some even question whether the Dropa stones are genuine at all, with various reports suggesting that they might be a hoax, an elaborate fabrication or misinterpretation of local folklore and existing artifacts. Yet despite the controversies, the mystery persists. No definitive answers have ever emerged, and the Dropa stones remain largely unexplained. Where did they come from? Who left them behind? And why? Were they simply the product of a lost culture? Or is there something far stranger at play? The stones are held in private collections, hidden from public view, their secrets locked away, until someone, someday, might finally decode their message. What if the Dropa stones are not just relics of an ancient civilization, but a key to a far larger mystery? A puzzle left by a forgotten people, or perhaps from a world beyond our own. In the quiet of the mountains, where the wind whispers through the trees, the answer may still be waiting to be uncovered. And as the mysteries of the Dropa stones continue to echo with whispers of the unknown, another enigma surfaces from the depths of time. This one, hidden not beneath the earth, but found within it, embedded in the layers of a world much older than we might have expected. In London, Texas, during the summer of 1934, a curious discovery was made by a couple exploring a small creek bed near their home. While collecting rocks, they stumbled upon a strange object embedded in a piece of limestone, partially buried in the earth. At first, they mistook it for an odd-shaped rock, but upon closer inspection, it revealed itself to be a wooden hammer, still remarkably well preserved. The hammer was like no other. Its wooden handle had partially decayed over the millennia, but the iron head remained intact and sharp. What caught the attention of the local researchers and geologists was not just the preservation of the hammer, but the strata in which it was found, deeply embedded within Cambrian rock, a formation estimated to be over 500 million years old. The implications were immediate and profound. Modern tools made of metal were not supposed to exist 500 million years ago, long before the rise of human civilization, let alone tools used by such civilizations. This hammer, seemingly anachronistic, posed a serious challenge to the established timeline of human history. Mainstream explanations suggest that the hammer is simply an artifact of a more recent time, possibly dropped into the rock formation by human activity or natural processes. The theory of intrusive artifacts suggests that the hammer could have been displaced into the ancient rock strata through natural erosion or geological shifts, though this explanation leaves many questions unanswered. Yet there is something unsettling about the hammer's condition. Despite being buried in ancient rock, the iron head shows no significant signs of corrosion that would be expected from such an exposure to the elements over millions of years. The craftsmanship of the handle, though worn, suggests a level of sophistication that does not align with primitive tools from the Cambrian period. The wood itself is consistent with materials used in historical toolmaking, not ancient forms of life. Could this be a relic of an ancient culture lost to time, or perhaps a tool from a much older, forgotten civilization whose history was wiped away by some global catastrophe? Further speculation moves even farther beyond conventional thought. Some theorists propose that the hammer may have been made by extraterrestrials, suggesting that such tools could have been brought to Earth from another planet. Others entertain the possibility that the hammer is part of a lost advanced civilization, one whose presence on Earth predates everything we know, perhaps even older than the dinosaurs themselves. Could this artifact be a clue to a forgotten epoch, or even a timeline where human or non-human intelligence existed long before we believed? Still, no conclusive evidence supports these more speculative theories. The hammer's existence remains one of the most debated and mysterious finds in the field of anomalous archaeology. Why would such a tool be found in rock so old? What kind of civilization could have created it? And why, despite its incredible age, does it show no sign of being the product of something far older than human history? As the hammer rests in the collection of a local museum, it continues to question our understanding of history, time, and the forces that shaped our world. Its simple, sturdy design remains as a silent witness, one of many artifacts scattered across time, each one inviting us to ask, what else is hidden beneath the layers of Earth, waiting to be discovered? And as the London hammer rests in its quiet, timeless mystery, another curiosity lies in the heart of Egypt, where ancient stone carvings and hieroglyphs speak not of gods and kings, but perhaps something far more extraordinary, an unexplained phenomenon that stretches the boundaries of our understanding of the ancient world. In the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a vast complex dedicated to the Egyptian goddess of love, music, and motherhood, one carving has captured the attention of historians, engineers, and conspiracy theorists alike. It depicts what appears to be a light bulb, an intricate, almost modern-looking device, held aloft by two figures in a scene that seems far out of place in an ancient temple. The Dendera Light, as it has come to be known, is found on the ceiling of one of the temple's inner chambers. The carving shows a serpentine object, which some interpret as a cable or wire connected to the base of a bulb-shaped structure. The bulb is held by two figures who appear to be performing some sort of ritual, their hands reaching toward the object, which seems to glow. At first glance, it might seem like an ordinary symbolic representation, a metaphorical depiction of the sun, light, or divine illumination. After all, the Egyptians were known for their rich symbolism, and their gods were often associated with the sun and light. However, what stands out is the uncanny resemblance of this object to a modern electric light bulb, an object that would not be invented for thousands of years. This depiction has led some to ask, could the ancient Egyptians have had access to electrical technology long before its discovery in modern times? Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss this idea, explaining the carving as a stylized symbol of creation or the divine light of the gods, interpreting the light bulb as nothing more than an artistic representation of the sun's rays or spiritual enlightenment. According to this view, the serpent may represent the sun god Ra, and the figures may simply be engaging in a symbolic act of connecting to divine power, not electricity. Yet the theory of electrical technology in ancient Egypt is far from easily dismissed. Some alternative theorists point to the seemingly modern design of the object and suggest that it may represent an actual electric light source, possibly something akin to the arc lamps used in early electric lighting. Could the ancient Egyptians have known of such technology, using it for ceremonial purposes, perhaps as part of a secret or lost tradition of scientific knowledge? Others speculate that the Dendera Light is part of a broader pattern of lost ancient technologies, perhaps linked to an advanced civilization that predates Egypt's dynastic period, one capable of harnessing power far beyond what we know. Could this civilization have used electricity in rituals, perhaps in their temples or tombs, to create light in a time when the world relied on torches and lamps? Such ideas are, of course, highly speculative, with no concrete evidence to support them. The lack of any physical artifacts associated with this supposed technology leaves the question hanging, and as is often the case with ancient mysteries, speculation can only go so far without more proof. So we are left to wonder, could this ancient symbol of light truly represent something far beyond the capabilities of the people of Egypt? Or is it simply a metaphor for divine illumination, an idea of light as a symbol of spiritual power? As the carvings on the temple walls remain unchanged, the Dendera Light continues to glow in the minds of those who question what might still be hidden in the depths of ancient history. The truth, like the light itself, may remain elusive, shrouded in the sands of time. And as the Dendera Light flickers in the shadows of speculation, we turn to another mysterious artifact, one found not in a grand temple, but in the quiet ruins of an ancient civilization, far from the bustling centers of Egypt and Mesopotamia. Here, in the southern region of Iraq, near the site of Ubaid, lies a mystery that seems to reach beyond the realm of the human world. In the early 20th century, excavations at the ancient settlement of Ubaid uncovered a series of small figurines, intricate, hand-carved sculptures that seem to defy easy classification. At first glance, they appear to be representations of human figures, but upon closer inspection, their faces, their bodies, and especially their eyes, suggest something far stranger. The Ubaid figurines are often described as depicting lizard-like beings, with large, bulging eyes and angular reptilian features. Their bodies are slender, with elongated limbs and exaggerated, often stiff postures. The level of detail and the unsettling nature of the figures has led many to speculate on their true meaning. The figurines are believed to date back to the Ubaid period, a time that stretched from around 5000 BCE to 4000 BCE, long before the rise of the Sumerians and the great civilizations of Mesopotamia. The Ubaid culture itself remains somewhat enigmatic, with little recorded history. What is known is that these early people were skilled in pottery, agriculture, and craftsmanship, and their society laid the foundations for the more well-known cultures that followed. But what are we to make of these lizardmen? Mainstream archaeologists have suggested that the figurines are simply stylized representations of humans, perhaps created for religious or ritualistic purposes. Some believe that the exaggerated features of the figures, such as their large eyes, may have been intended to symbolize spiritual vision or a connection to the divine, drawing on the human tendency to imbue objects with symbolic meaning. However, the reptilian features of the Ubaid figurines have sparked alternative theories that venture far beyond conventional interpretations. Some have speculated that these figures represent extraterrestrial beings, suggesting that ancient cultures may have encountered or been influenced by alien visitors. This theory draws upon the idea of ancient astronauts, the hypothesis that advanced beings from other planets visited Earth in prehistory, leaving behind clues in the form of strange artifacts, symbols, and structures. Other theories have pointed to the possibility that the Ubaid lizardmen could be representations of an ancient, forgotten race, perhaps even a species of humanoid reptilians whose presence on Earth has been lost to time. In this view, the figurines would not just be symbolic, but could reflect an actual physical race of beings that coexisted with early humans, or perhaps even interacted with them. Still, no evidence has been found to substantiate any of these more fantastical claims. The figurines themselves remain the only clues to whatever mystery lies behind their creation. And with no accompanying written records to provide context, their true purpose remains as elusive as ever. What were the Ubaid people trying to convey with these strange, otherworldly figures? Were they meant to honor a forgotten god? Or were they perhaps shaped by a culture's contact with something far beyond our understanding? And why, out of all the possible forms of life, did they choose to craft beings with such reptilian features? The Ubaid lizardmen figurines are more than mere artifacts. They are fragments of a forgotten world, still standing in silence, waiting for us to interpret their meaning. Whatever the truth behind them, one thing is certain. They raise more questions than answers, leaving us to wonder if the mysteries of the past may be stranger than we can imagine. And as the Ubaid lizardmen figurines stand frozen in their strange and silent mystery, another ancient object calls to us from the depths of history, a simple, yet incredibly significant artifact that has sparked questions not just about the past, but about the very foundations of human civilization. In the highlands of Bolivia, near the shores of Lake Titicaca, a mysterious bowl was discovered in the 1950s, one that would come to be known as the Fuente Magna bowl. It's a beautifully crafted ceramic bowl, about 30 centimeters in diameter, that stands out not for its artistry, but for the script etched into its surface. The symbols carved into the bowl are unmistakably Sumerian cuneiform, one of the earliest systems of writing known to humanity, used by the ancient Sumerians in 350 Mesopotamia around 3000 BCE. Yet the problem is this: the Fuente Magna bowl was found in South America, a continent far removed from the ancient world of Sumer. The bowl's age, style, and the language of the inscriptions suggest that it may have originated over 5,000 miles from where the Sumerians once thrived. How, then, did this Sumerian script appear on a bowl found in the heart of the Andes? Mainstream scholars are cautious about embracing such an extraordinary claim. The bowl is believed to date back to the Tiwanaku culture, which flourished in the Andes around 1000 BCE, long after the Sumerians had developed their cuneiform writing system. One explanation is that the bowl could have been a piece of trade, a ceremonial object passed between distant cultures, possibly as an artifact of exchange. This theory suggests that the Tiwanaku people may have had contact with the ancient Sumerians or their descendants, although no evidence of such contact has been found. However, the mystery deepens. When the Fuente Magna bowl was first examined, experts noted not only the presence of Sumerian symbols, but also Proto-Sumerian symbols, older forms of cuneiform that predate the Sumerian civilization itself. This raises the possibility of an even earlier, more ancient connection between the Americas and the Old World, a theory that challenges the conventional understanding of ancient history. Some theorists suggest that the Fuente Magna bowl might be a remnant of an ancient, lost civilization, one that had the ability to traverse great distances across the oceans, connecting distant cultures long before such voyages were thought possible. Could it be that the ancient people of the Andes were in contact with the civilizations of the Near East, possibly even before the rise of the Sumerians? Others propose that the script could have been adopted and adapted by the Tiwanaku people, who may have developed their own version of cuneiform for ceremonial purposes, much as other ancient cultures adopted foreign symbols for their own uses. And still, there are those who entertain even more speculative possibilities, such as the theory that the Fuente Magna bowl is evidence of a pre-Columbian transoceanic voyage, where ancient civilizations from Mesopotamia or other regions sailed to the Americas and left behind cultural remnants, perhaps unknowingly or intentionally. No matter the theory, the Fuente Magna bowl raises questions about the flow of knowledge and culture in the ancient world. Was the flow of civilization truly as isolated as we've been led to believe? Or were the connections between distant peoples more complex than we realize? The bowl rests in a museum today, its surface still holding its secrets, its inscriptions unreadable in full. As we look upon it, we are left to wonder, was it simply a trade item, a symbol of cultural exchange? Or is it a piece of evidence that points to a far older, far more interconnected world than we have ever known? What stories might yet be hidden beneath the surface of this ancient artifact, waiting to be told? And as the Fuente Magna bowl whispers its cryptic origins from the depths of the Andes, another enigma unfolds, a mystery bound not in stone or clay, but in paper, ink, and an untranslatable script. In the early 20th century, a rare and bewildering manuscript was brought to light in the rarefied halls of a private library. Known as the Voynich Manuscript, it is a work that has confounded scholars, linguists, and cryptographers for centuries, remaining one of the most perplexing unsolved riddles in the world of ancient texts. The manuscript itself is a small, hand-bound book, approximately 240 pages, filled with vibrant illustrations of strange plants, astronomical diagrams, and curious human figures. Its pages are densely packed with an unknown script, a series of glyphs that defy any known language or cipher. No one has ever been able to definitively decode its writing. No one can say for certain who wrote it, when, or why. The manuscript is named after Wilfrid Voynich, the antiquarian who purchased it in 1912, though its origins date back to the 15th century, perhaps earlier. Radiocarbon dating of the vellum has placed its creation at around 1400 to 1438 CE, though the specifics of its authorship remain unclear. It has been suggested that the manuscript could have been created by an alchemist, a scholar, or a scribe, but its purpose is even more elusive. What makes the Voynich manuscript so strange isn't just the unreadable script, but the content itself. The botanical illustrations, for example, show plants that do not appear to exist anywhere in nature. Plants with bizarre features, blending characteristics of known species with entirely fantastical traits. Some of the drawings suggest a deep understanding of plant life, but no known plants can be identified. The astronomical diagrams are equally perplexing. They appear to map the stars, the sun, and the moon, but with peculiar variations and alignments that do not match any known system of astrology or astronomy. The manuscript even features human figures, sometimes depicted engaged in strange activities, such as bathing in pools of water surrounded by bizarre symbols or engaging with unusual machines. This combination of incomprehensible text, strange drawings, and unfamiliar concepts has led many to speculate on its origins. Was it the product of a lost civilization with knowledge we have yet to uncover? Or could it be a work of fiction, a carefully crafted hoax designed to mystify and deceive? Cryptographers, linguists, and computer scientists have spent decades attempting to crack the code of the manuscript's text. Some believe that it is a constructed language, perhaps designed for a secret society or for a ritualistic or religious purpose. Others have suggested it might be the work of a single, brilliant individual, whose writings were deliberately designed to confuse and baffle. More speculative theories suggest that the Voynich Manuscript is not human in origin at all, that it could be an alien language, a message from extraterrestrial beings left for humanity to decipher. Despite decades of intense study, the manuscript resists all attempts at translation. The script does not match any known language or cipher, ancient or modern, and attempts to match it to other texts have proven futile. Some cryptographers have even used artificial intelligence to try and identify patterns in the text, but no one has yet cracked its code. The mysteries of the manuscript are as much about the questions it raises as about the answers it refuses to provide. Who wrote it? Why? What knowledge does it contain, if any? Could it be an ancient code, a map to hidden wisdom, or a lost chapter of human history? As the manuscript sits in the vaults of the Yale University Library, its pages filled with symbols and images, it calls out to those who are willing to listen. But perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not just in the text itself, but in the question of why such a document would be created, why it was hidden, why it was preserved, and why, after centuries, it remains unsolved. What if the Voynich Manuscript is not just a book, but a key, one that, when unlocked, will change our understanding of history, language, and knowledge itself? Or perhaps it is simply a riddle meant to remain unanswered, forever enigmatic. And as the Voynich Manuscript keeps its secrets locked in an impenetrable code, another strange and cryptic text rises from the depths of history, this time from the heart of Central Europe. In the 19th century, amidst the rolling hills of Hungary, an even more perplexing document was uncovered: the Rohonc Codex. The Codex, a small, leather-bound book filled with intricately drawn illustrations and an entirely unknown script, was discovered in 1838 by the Hungarian scholar Károly Zsámbóki, though its origins remain shrouded in mystery. Despite its uncertain beginnings, the Rohonc Codex has endured as one of the most enigmatic texts in the world. Unlike the Voynich Manuscript, which primarily draws attention for its unknown script, the Rohonc Codex is equally fascinating for its combination of bizarre illustrations and a completely unique writing system, never seen before or after in recorded history. At first glance, the illustrations in the Codex are startling in their diversity and complexity. The pages are filled with intricate images of animals, human figures, and symbolic scenes, some resembling medieval European imagery, others evoking distant and strange lands. There are depictions of ritualistic ceremonies, warfare, and what appear to be mythological creatures, all of which raise more questions than they answer. These images alone would make the Codex intriguing, but it is the script that truly defies all attempts at understanding. The writing is a series of symbols and glyphs, some resembling ancient runes, while others appear to be completely invented. Despite many attempts to decipher it over the years, no linguist or historian has been able to identify its meaning or connection to any known language. The text doesn't match any known writing system, be it ancient or modern, and it does not appear to follow any linguistic pattern, leaving researchers to speculate about its origins. Some theories suggest that the Rohonc Codex might have been created by an isolated sect or religious order, perhaps in the medieval period, with the symbols representing an entirely unique language, possibly even a secret code. Others propose that it was a work of artistic imagination, created by an individual or group for some personal or ritualistic purpose, though no one knows why they would craft such a complex and indecipherable language. More fringe theories point to even more tantalizing ideas. Some believe the codex may be evidence of lost civilizations, suggesting that the text is a remnant of a culture that disappeared before it could pass its knowledge on to later generations. Others speculate that the script is extraterrestrial in origin, a communication system left by beings far beyond Earth's shores, offering a clue that humankind has yet to uncover. The bizarre nature of the images and their seemingly otherworldly qualities only fuels these theories. Despite being studied by scholars, cryptographers, and even computer scientists in modern times, the Rohonc Codex continues to defy explanation. Some argue that it is a medieval hoax, perhaps created as a work of art or a religious manuscript designed to confuse or intimidate. Others believe that its meaning is simply waiting to be discovered, buried beneath centuries of misinterpretation. The Codex now rests in the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, its pages still holding their secrets close. As we look upon it today, the question remains: could it be that the Rohonc Codex is not just a relic of an obscure period in history, but a key to understanding something much larger, an unknown history or knowledge that has been locked away for reasons lost to time? Or perhaps it is simply a puzzle crafted by a mind, or minds, whose purpose remains as enigmatic as the symbols they left behind. In the quiet corners of libraries and archives, the Rohonc Codex waits. It continues to draw us in, whispering secrets we are not yet able to hear. And as the Rohonc Codex sits in the quiet archives of history, its unreadable script a testament to humanity's lost knowledge, we now turn to another artifact that has similarly baffled scholars and archaeologists for over a century. A small, yet extraordinarily intricate disc found on the island of Crete. In 1908, while excavating the Minoan palace of Phaistos, archaeologist Luigi Pernier uncovered an object that would come to symbolize one of the most compelling mysteries of the ancient world, the Phaistos Disc. This small, circular tablet, made of fired clay, is covered on both sides with a series of spirals, each containing 45 distinct symbols. The symbols are arranged in what appears to be a form of writing, but it does not resemble any known script, whether from the ancient Greek, Egyptian, or even Sumerian civilizations. The symbols are clearly not random. Their organization suggests a methodical, purposeful structure, as if they were part of a coherent language or system. The disc itself measures just 15 centimeters in diameter, and its two faces are meticulously engraved with these symbols, which seem to be arranged in spirals, circling inward toward the center. What makes the Phaistos disc so intriguing is not just the mystery of its script, but also the precision with which it was crafted, its smooth surface, its consistent engraving, and its carefully formed impressions, which appear to have been stamped into the clay using a set of seals. Despite numerous attempts to decode the symbols, the language remains undeciphered. Some scholars have likened it to hieroglyphics, while others have suggested it is an example of linear script, though it does not match any known writing system from the Aegean region or anywhere else in the ancient world. The disc's origin, dating back to around 1700 BCE, places it in the Minoan civilization, a people known for their advanced culture, art, and trade. Yet, even with this context, the purpose and meaning of the disc remain elusive. Mainstream scholars speculate that the disc could be a form of religious or ceremonial text, perhaps a prayer, a song, or even a calendar of some sort. The spiral design has led some to propose that it may symbolize a cyclical event, possibly linked to astronomical or agricultural patterns common in ancient Minoan life. Others have suggested that it might be a game or educational tool, a form of instruction or amusement for the elite of Minoan society. But the theories quickly diverge when we consider more fringe possibilities. Some speculate that the Phaistos Disc could be a form of lost language, one that was not just used by the Minoans, but by a much earlier, forgotten civilization. Others entertain the idea that it could be alien communication, a message or artifact from extraterrestrial visitors, encoded in a language meant to be understood only by a select few, perhaps even designed to be rediscovered millennia later. Even more provocative theories suggest the disc is a map, perhaps a guide to ancient sites, lost cities, or places of power. Despite more than a century of study, the true nature of the Phaistos Disc remains unclear. It has been analyzed with the latest technology, from radiocarbon dating to linguistic analysis using artificial intelligence, but the script resists all attempts at translation. No other objects bearing the same symbols have been found, leaving the disc as an isolated artifact, its full meaning hidden in time. Could the Phaistos Disc be the key to a lost chapter of human history? Is it a glimpse into a lost language, a forgotten culture, or perhaps even a forgotten cosmic knowledge? Or is it merely the product of an ancient mind, deliberately designed to mystify and intrigue us forever? The answers remain just out of reach as the Phaistos Disc waits silently, its secrets veiled in the sands of Crete, whispering for those willing to listen and wonder about the mysteries still hidden in the past. And as the enigmatic symbols of the Phaistos Disc continue to defy our understanding, we now turn to another riddle, one etched not on a disc, but into the very stone of a gatehouse in the English countryside. Here, in the quiet grounds of Shugborough Hall, a curious inscription stands in sharp contrast to the tranquil surroundings, its meaning as elusive as the history it represents. The Shugborough Inscription appears on a monumental archway that forms part of the estate's grand design. The arch, dating back to the 18th century, is adorned with an intricate carving, a sequence of letters and symbols, unmarked by any clear explanation. The inscription itself, etched on a marble slab, reads as a jumble of seemingly unrelated symbols: O, U, O, S, V, A, V, V. Beneath this curious string of characters is a larger symbol, the Shepherd's Monument, depicting a man holding a staff, surrounded by a series of mysterious symbols. At first, it might seem like an ornamental or commemorative carving, perhaps a symbol of local history or a personal message from the estate's owners. But the lack of context and the peculiarity of the symbols have raised countless questions, turning it into one of the most perplexing cryptic inscriptions in Britain. Mainstream explanations suggest that the letters could be part of a family motto or a cryptic reference to a private matter related to the Anson family, who commissioned the monument. Some argue that it might be a form of encrypted message, a puzzle designed to hold significance only to those who understood it. The Shepherd's Monument, with its pastoral imagery, is sometimes interpreted as a reference to the elderly shepherd's story, a poem from the time, while others believe it may symbolize guidance or protection. However, the theory that the inscription might be more than just a personal or poetic message has sparked intrigue in those interested in historical riddles and lost codes. Some have suggested that the Shugborough inscription could be a clue to the location of the Holy Grail, drawing connections to the Da Vinci Code and the associated idea of secret societies preserving hidden knowledge. According to this theory, the symbols on the monument could be a coded reference to the Grail, a message left behind by the Knights Templar or other medieval organizations that may have been involved in guarding such sacred relics. Others believe that the inscription could be a part of a larger alchemical puzzle, designed to reveal ancient knowledge, lost practices, or hidden truths that were meant to be deciphered only by those who possessed a certain level of understanding. These theories often suggest that the symbols are a key to a forgotten or suppressed history, one that involves hidden spiritual or scientific knowledge. Yet, despite these theories, the exact meaning of the Shugborough inscription remains unresolved. No definitive solution has emerged, and the lack of corroborating evidence leaves the mystery to persist in its ambiguity. Was this a simple decorative piece? Or is it an intentional code, a hidden message meant to stand the test of time, awaiting rediscovery by those who can finally crack its meaning? The Shugborough inscription, with its enigmatic symbols and unbroken silence, continues to draw attention, its true purpose still shrouded in uncertainty. As the stone rests quietly at Shugborough Hall, one cannot help but wonder, what secrets remain buried within these symbols, waiting for someone to unlock them? And, more intriguingly, who might have left them behind? And why? And as the Shugborough inscription leaves us with more questions than answers, we turn now to a place far removed from the rolling hills of England, an isolated island in the Pacific Ocean, where one of the most enduring puzzles of ancient history lies waiting to be understood. Easter Island, known locally as Rapa Nui, is a place of stark beauty, where the stone giants known as Moai stand silently, gazing out over the vast expanse of the ocean. These monumental statues are a testament to the ingenuity and spirit of the island's people. But hidden within the island's culture is another mystery, one far less visible, but no less intriguing. In the mid-19th century, European explorers came across a series of wooden tablets on the island, RongoRongo tablets, each covered in a series of intricate symbols. These tablets, made from the wood of the Toromiro tree, were completely covered in glyphs, some of which resembled pictographs, while others appeared more abstract. The symbols are etched into the wood, some carved deeply, others shallowly, and they are arranged in lines or columns, often with a highly structured, almost artistic quality. The mystery lies not in the presence of the glyphs themselves, but in their meaning. These symbols, referred to as the RongoRongo script, appear to be a written language, yet no one has ever been able to fully decipher it. Unlike the scripts of ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia, which have been gradually understood through the decipherment of key inscriptions, RongoRongo remains largely indecipherable. Despite numerous efforts by linguists, historians, and cryptographers, the script resists all attempts to make sense of it. Rapa Nui's written language, it seems, was not passed down. By the time Europeans arrived on the island in the 18th century, the knowledge of how to read and write RongoRongo had already been lost. Some believe that the script was used for ritualistic purposes, potentially as a way to preserve the oral traditions of the island's people, passed down through generations in the form of chants and songs. It is also suggested that the script may have been used to record important historical events, genealogies, or the movements of the Moai statues themselves, which were carved and erected with great significance. But the questions remain. Why was RongoRongo invented in the first place? Why did this remote civilization develop a written language when most of the world's other cultures at the time relied on oral transmission? And why, once it was created, was the script allowed to fade into obscurity so that even the island's descendants had no knowledge of it? Some mainstream theories suggest that RongoRongo was a unique form of memory aid, a way to assist the oral storytellers in remembering and preserving long and complex oral traditions. But this does not explain why the symbols were used in such a structured manner, or why they were confined to a relatively small number of tablets that never seemed to proliferate across the island. More speculative theories propose that RongoRongo was not simply a written language, but a form of sacred knowledge, perhaps used to encode ancient secrets about the island's creation, or the movements of the stars and planets. Some have even suggested that RongoRongo may have been a form of alien communication, with the symbols representing messages from beings far beyond Earth, possibly a remnant of extraterrestrial influence on the ancient world. Yet, despite the many theories, no one has come close to cracking the code. There are no Rosetta Stones, no inscriptions to guide researchers. The tablets remain locked in their mystery, each symbol a silent enigma. What was the true purpose of RongoRongo? Was it simply a tool for communication, or was it something far more profound, tied to the island's spiritual beliefs, or perhaps to a hidden, forgotten chapter of history? As the wind carries the whispers of ancient chants across the quiet shores of Easter Island, the RongoRongo script remains unread, a puzzle suspended between time and mystery. What knowledge might still lie hidden in its symbols? And might the key to unlocking it be lost forever, or waiting to be discovered once again? And as the RongoRongo script rests silent on the shores of Easter Island, another hidden mystery stirs beneath the earth, this time in the heart of China, a place where an ancient emperor's final resting place has long been shrouded in secrecy. In Lingtong, near the ancient capital of Xi'an, lies the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, who united the warring states of the region in 221 BCE. His tomb, built in 210 BCE, is legendary, not only for its scale, but for the great mystery that surrounds it. Buried beneath a massive earth mound, the tomb itself remains largely untouched by modern archaeologists, its true contents still hidden by layers of earth, history, and perhaps something far more elusive. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang is vast. Spanning over 56 square kilometers, it is said to be a miniature model of the emperor's empire, complete with rivers, mountains, and even a replica of his royal palace. What makes it so fascinating, however, is not just the size or the fact that it was sealed with elaborate traps to protect its contents from robbers, but the stunning discovery of his terracotta army, thousands of life-sized statues of soldiers, horses, and chariots, each one individually sculpted to guard the emperor in the afterlife. These soldiers are arranged in battle formations, perfectly aligned, their faces each showing unique expressions. Yet, for all the grandeur of the army and the elaborate structure, the tomb itself remains largely unexplored. According to ancient texts, the tomb is surrounded by a moat of mercury and filled with treasures beyond imagining: gold, jewels, and artifacts fit for a god. Some reports even claim that the tomb contains the emperor's corpse, along with the objects he would need for the afterlife, carefully preserved within a sealed chamber. Yet, despite several excavations, the tomb itself remains closed to the modern world, with authorities wary of disturbing the delicate balance between preserving the site and unlocking its secrets. So, what exactly lies within this vast, unopened tomb? Why has it remained sealed for centuries, even as the world has uncovered so much of the emperor's legacy? Mainstream scholars suggest that the tomb is full of the typical grave goods, treasures, and ritual objects intended to accompany Qin Shi Huang into the next life. The use of mercury, often cited in ancient Chinese texts, may be a symbol of the river of life and death, or a method of preservation. Yet there are still aspects that defy explanation. Some speculate that the tomb contains far more than the treasures and objects of a grand imperial burial. Could it be that Qin Shi Huang's tomb holds hidden secrets of ancient science, perhaps technologies that were lost to history? The use of mercury in such large quantities suggests a deep knowledge of alchemy, perhaps even an attempt at immortality. Some theorists argue that the emperor may have been attempting to preserve his soul or his physical form through ancient, unknown practices, possibly in a way that goes beyond mere preservation of the body. There are even those who propose more speculative ideas. Could the tomb be hiding knowledge of extraterrestrial contact? Was Qin Shi Huang's quest for immortality not just the desire for eternal life, but an attempt to connect with beings beyond Earth. Could his terracotta army, so meticulously crafted and placed around the tomb, be guarding not just his body, but some kind of forbidden technology or knowledge, hidden away to protect it from those who would misuse it? Despite the mystery and the many theories, the emperor's tomb remains largely unexcavated. The government's decision to leave it untouched, despite advances in archaeological technology, suggests a deep respect, or fear, of what might lie within. The fact that such an important and monumental tomb has yet to be fully explored only adds to the allure of the mystery. What secrets could Qin Shi Huang's tomb hold? What knowledge, treasures, or even dangers have been sealed away for thousands of years, waiting to be uncovered? As the silent terracotta soldiers stand guard over the tomb, their stoic expressions never changing, the question remains: what are we truly afraid of finding? And what will we discover when the tomb is finally opened? And as we leave the mysteries of Qin Shi Huang's tomb, sealed away in the sands of China, we turn to a much different but equally haunting discovery, this time deep within the heart of Egypt, where the echoes of the ancient past still seem to speak to us, albeit in a way we cannot yet fully comprehend. In 1907, in a royal tomb near Thebes, Egyptologist James Quibell and his team unearthed an unusual and chilling mummy, one that would come to be known as Unknown Man E, or more ominously, the Screaming Mummy. Unlike the perfectly preserved remains of most ancient Egyptian nobility, this body was discovered in a state of disturbing tension, and its expression, even after millennia, is one of agony and terror. The mouth is agape in what appears to be a screaming position, with the eyes open wide, frozen in a silent, eternal cry. It's as though the man's death was violent, abrupt, or traumatic. The mummy was discovered in the Valley of the Kings, in a tomb that was initially believed to belong to Tutankhamun's close relatives. Yet this particular individual had no identifiable markings or royal trappings. The mummification process itself, too, was somewhat unusual. The body had been hastily wrapped and embalmed, far from the meticulous care that would have been given to pharaohs or high-ranking officials. What's more, his limbs were not bent, as is typical in Egyptian burials, but extended as if in a final, desperate attempt to break free. Mainstream archaeologists believe that the body may have been someone who was hastily buried, perhaps a victim of a violent death, as there are indications of significant trauma, both physical and possibly psychological, in his remains. Some speculate that he may have been a criminal, executed and hastily buried in the aftermath of a political upheaval, or someone who had angered the royal family. But this explanation doesn't explain the profound fear and pain captured in his expression, nor the strange circumstances surrounding his burial. Others suggest that this may have been the tomb of a man who died in some kind of ritualistic manner, possibly connected to the tumultuous period following the death of Akhenaten, a pharaoh known for his controversial religious reforms. Did Unknown Man E's death represent some kind of sacrifice, a symbol of the political and religious chaos that followed the collapse of Akhenaten's regime? More speculative theories delve deeper into the supernatural. Some believe that the screaming expression may be symbolic of the man's soul's unrest, suggesting that this was someone who died in a way that threatened the afterlife, perhaps a person cursed, or one who had been subjected to dark rituals. Could it be that this mummy's expression is not merely the result of a physical death, but rather a spiritual crisis, a punishment for something unspeakable he may have done, or something done to him? And then there are the fringe theories. Could the screaming mummy be linked to ancient mystical rites, or even suggest a connection to extraterrestrial beings? The distorted, contorted expression of terror has led some to entertain the idea that this was no ordinary human death, but one tied to an alien encounter or an ancient secret society. Yet, despite these wild theories, the more grounded explanation remains the simplest. unknown man. He likely met a violent and tragic end, and his remains reflect the terror and trauma he must have experienced before his death. But even this conclusion leaves questions in its wake. Why was he buried in such a hurried, unconventional manner? What caused his death to be so violent? And why was his body left to express such suffering? Was this man simply a victim of circumstance? Or does his mummified scream represent something far darker? As the mummified body lies in its case, on display in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, it continues to hold its secrets. The unanswered questions linger in the air, as palpable as the silence that surrounds it. What else might the scream of this long-dead man reveal about his life, his death, or the hidden mysteries of ancient Egypt that still await discovery? And as the haunting expression of the screaming mummy echoes through the tombs of Egypt, we turn now to a mystery that glimmers with an almost otherworldly allure, an enigma that seems to transcend both time and material. Crystal skulls, these meticulously carved, translucent artifacts, have sparked fascination, wonder, and suspicion for centuries. The most famous of these skulls, the Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull, was discovered in 1924 in the ruins of a Mayan temple in Belize by Anna Mitchell-Hedges, daughter of the British explorer Frederick Mitchell-Hedges. The skull, carved from a single block of clear quartz crystal, is nearly life-size, its detail so precise that its features, eyebrows, nose, and teeth, appear almost too perfect. The skull is smooth, its surface polished to a brilliance that captures light, giving it an eerie, ethereal glow. It is said to be both aesthetic and functional, designed not just to represent the human form, but to hold some deeper significance, perhaps in spiritual, ritualistic, or even technological terms. But the story of the Mitchell-Hedges skull is only the most famous. Several other crystal skulls have surfaced over the years, including the Smithsonian skull, which resides in the Smithsonian Institution, and the Paris skull, which can be found in the Musée du Quai Branly. Each is different, but all share one thing in common. They are made from solid crystal, and each features the same highly skilled craftsmanship that would be nearly impossible to replicate even with modern technology. Despite the clarity and beauty of the skulls, the question remains: how were they made? The mainstream explanation, of course, suggests that these skulls are mere relics, artifacts created by ancient civilizations, possibly the Mayans or Aztecs, using rudimentary tools. Scholars propose that the Mayans, for example, may have had the ability to shape stone using simple abrasives and diamond-tipped tools, though such techniques are largely speculative. The level of craftsmanship, however, raises doubts. While the skulls are carved with exceptional precision, modern analysis has suggested that the skulls might be far older than any known Mesoamerican civilization, possibly even originating from a period before these cultures existed. This has given rise to more mystical theories. Some have proposed that the skulls were created by a lost civilization, one with advanced technology that may have had access to skills and knowledge far beyond what is believed to have been available at the time. Others suggest that the skulls could be objects of extraterrestrial origin, left behind as a message or a tool for humanity's advancement. The idea of ancient, advanced civilizations with knowledge of crystal and energy is a recurring theme in speculative literature, and some believe these skulls might hold an untapped power, capable of interacting with human consciousness in a way that modern science has yet to explain. Even more intriguing are the claims that the skulls possess mysterious properties. Some reports suggest that when certain people come into close contact with the skulls, they experience vivid visions or feelings of energy, as if the skulls are somehow communicating with the observer. There are even stories of the skulls being used in rituals to channel energy or to unlock hidden knowledge, an idea that aligns with ancient beliefs in the mystical properties of crystals and stones. Could these skulls be imbued with ancient wisdom, or perhaps even some form of ancient technology designed to unlock the potential of the human mind? Despite being tested and analyzed by modern science, no one has been able to conclusively determine the true origin or purpose of the skulls. Some skeptics argue that they were merely crafted in the 19th or early 20th centuries, possibly by skilled artisans with access to modern tools. But the mystery of their origins remains unresolved, leaving the question of their true purpose open to interpretation. Were the crystal skulls simply artistic creations, or do they represent something far more significant, perhaps a lost ancient technology or a key to some forgotten wisdom of the past? Do they hold the potential to unlock powers beyond our understanding, or are they relics of an advanced civilization whose knowledge we can only begin to grasp? As the light reflects off their polished surfaces, the crystal skulls continue to hold their secrets, waiting to reveal whatever might still be hidden in their ancient and mysterious depths. And as the crystal skulls shimmer with an enigmatic glow, we turn now to another discovery, one that brings us closer to the heart of ancient China, a civilization rich in history, artistry, and complex rituals. In the remote Hubei province, a tomb was uncovered in 1971 that would become one of the most astonishing archaeological finds of the 20th century. It was the tomb of Lady Dai, and what was found inside would reveal not only the remarkable preservation techniques of the ancient world, but also a fascinating glimpse into the life and death of a noblewoman whose identity had long been lost to history. Lady Dai, also known as Xinzhui, was a marquise's wife during the Western Han dynasty, around 2nd century BCE. Her tomb, discovered in the Mawangdui burial site, was an opulent and sacred resting place, designed not only to honor her life, but to provide for her in the afterlife. When archaeologists first entered the tomb, they were met with an astonishing sight. The body of Lady Dai, perfectly preserved, her skin still supple, her hair dark, her features almost lifelike, despite having been buried for over 2,000 years. The tomb itself was a marvel of ancient Chinese architecture. It was filled with a wealth of artifacts, including painted silk scrolls, pottery, and bronze items, each offering insight into the customs and material culture of the time. Yet, it was the mummified remains of Lady Dai that captivated the world. Unlike mummies from Egypt, which were typically embalmed with resin and bandages, Lady Dai's preservation was far more sophisticated. Her body had been treated with layers of lacquer, and her tomb was sealed in a way that kept the air out, preserving the moisture levels in the body and preventing decay. The mummification process was so advanced that Lady Dai's internal organs, including her heart, liver, and intestines, were carefully removed and preserved separately, just as Egyptian mummies had been, but with techniques and materials all their own. This level of preservation suggested an understanding of both anatomy and chemistry that was far ahead of its time. And yet, the question remained: how was such a feat possible? Mainstream explanations suggest that Lady Dai's remarkable preservation was the result of meticulous burial practices and the advanced knowledge of the Han dynasty. The Chinese had long been known for their interest in immortality and spiritual practices related to death, and it is likely that her tomb was designed to ensure that her soul could rest peacefully for eternity. The tomb's construction, with its sealed chambers and careful preservation methods, points to a culture that revered both the afterlife and the bodies of the departed. However, what continues to intrigue archaeologists and historians is the mummification itself. Unlike other cultures, such as the Egyptians, who used a relatively standard set of techniques for embalming, the Chinese methods remain somewhat ambiguous. The lacquer technique used on Lady Dai's body suggests a deeper knowledge of preservation and chemistry that has not been fully understood. Was this an isolated incident of advanced knowledge, or was it part of a broader, now forgotten tradition of mummification? As researchers continue to study the tomb, they have uncovered several mysterious elements that suggest there might be more to the story. Some of the silk scrolls found alongside Lady Dai's body contained astrological charts and medical texts, suggesting that her burial was not just a simple matter of preserving her body, but also of preparing her for the journey ahead. The scrolls also contained images of rituals and spiritual practices that seemed to link Lady Dai's life and death with ideas of immortality and cosmic cycles. These documents hinted at an ancient belief in energy flow and balance, concepts that might connect Lady Dai's mummification with practices related to qi or the Taoist pursuit of longevity. Even more intriguing were the reports of her body's condition. Despite being buried for more than 2 millennia, the level of preservation was nothing short of extraordinary. Lady Dai's clothing was also well preserved. Her silk garments were still vibrant with color, as if they had been worn only recently. In fact, the preservation of her skin and internal organs has led some to speculate that the ancient techniques used to preserve her may have had ties to alchemy or secret knowledge. Could the process have been a combination of natural elements, like the lacquer, or were there more esoteric practices involved? As researchers study Lady Dai's tomb and the intricate array of artifacts found within, many still wonder about the true nature of her preservation. Was it simply a cultural tradition based on an understanding of natural science? Or was there a deeper, hidden knowledge at play, possibly a lost form of ancient chemistry, or even a practice passed down by a secret society devoted to life after death? And then, there are those who ponder whether the remarkable preservation of Lady Dai's body was tied to something beyond this world. Could it be that the Han Dynasty's mummification techniques were part of a broader, forgotten tradition, a method that reached beyond ordinary science and into the realm of spiritual or supernatural forces? Lady Dai's tomb continues to provide more questions than answers, leaving a legacy of awe and wonder that speaks across time. What knowledge of life, death, and immortality might have been hidden in her tomb, waiting to be uncovered? What ancient secrets still lie buried in the earth, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? As the mummified Lady Dai rests in the quiet of her tomb, we are left to wonder, what else might still be hidden in the rich, uncharted depths of ancient China's secrets? And as the echoes of Lady Dai's mummified body leave us contemplating the depths of ancient preservation techniques, we turn now to a place that is as mysterious as it is remote, a dry, wind-swept desert in southern Peru, where the barren landscape holds one of the most perplexing archaeological enigmas in the world. The Nazca Desert, home to the famous Nazca Lines, massive geoglyphs carved into the Earth's surface, has long been a source of wonder and intrigue. But beneath this arid expanse, hidden in the Earth's dry embrace, lies a different kind of mystery: the Nazca mummies. These ancient, mummified remains, first brought to light in the early 2000s, have stirred both fascination and skepticism, challenging our understanding of ancient cultures and their practices. The mummies were discovered in the Nazca region, near the coastal plains of Peru, within a series of underground burial chambers. What makes these mummies particularly unusual is not just their preservation, but their form. Unlike traditional mummies, which are wrapped in cloth or preserved with embalming agents, the Nazca mummies were found with elongated heads, some of which appear to have been artificially altered during their lifetimes. Additionally, many of the mummies have 3 fingers and 3 toes, an anatomical anomaly that has only added to the growing list of questions surrounding their origins. Mainstream explanations suggest that the mummies are the remains of members of the Nazca culture, a civilization known for its impressive artistic achievements, including the geoglyphs, as well as their complex ritualistic practices. The Nazca people are believed to have lived between 200 BCE and 600 CE, and it is thought that the mummies found in the region were likely prepared using the same mummification techniques seen in other parts of the ancient world, drying out the body in the desert heat, which helped preserve the tissues and skin. However, the strange features of the mummies, particularly their unusual fingers and toes, have left many scholars puzzled. While the elongated skulls may be attributed to cultural practices of cranial deformation, a technique used by several ancient cultures around the world, the three-fingered hands and three-toed feet defy easy explanation. Could these features be the result of some form of genetic mutation? Or were they artificially enhanced as part of a ritual or belief system? The fact that these mummies appear to have been intentionally preserved in ways that go beyond ordinary mummification raises the possibility that they were important figures within their society, perhaps high-ranking individuals or spiritual leaders. The mummies were initially dismissed by many archaeologists as mere hoaxes, a creation of modern forgeries or distortions. However, scientific analysis has suggested that the mummies are indeed authentic and date back over 1,000 years. DNA tests have confirmed that the remains belong to human beings, though the anomalies in their features have raised more questions than answers. The discovery of these mummies has sparked growing interest among those looking for an explanation that might go beyond the conventional narrative of ancient civilizations. Speculative theories began to emerge, many of them wild and unsubstantiated. Some have suggested that the three-fingered, three-toed mummies represent extraterrestrial beings, offering a glimpse into a time when aliens may have visited Earth and interacted with ancient cultures. These theories are often linked to the larger narrative of ancient astronauts, which proposes that advanced beings visited Earth in prehistoric times and influenced human development. According to these ideas, the elongated skulls and abnormal digits may be evidence of hybridization or genetic manipulation, with extraterrestrials playing a role in the evolution of human civilizations. Others speculate that these anomalies could be the result of genetic engineering carried out by a lost civilization, one with knowledge far more advanced than anything that is traditionally understood to have existed at the time. Were the Nazca people in possession of a technology or knowledge that allowed them to manipulate their own genetics? Were these mummies the result of an experiment or a deliberate effort to create a race with unique physical characteristics, perhaps as part of a spiritual or ceremonial practice? Despite the allure of such theories, mainstream scientists have yet to fully embrace any of these explanations. The presence of the elongated heads and extra digits could be a result of cultural practices or genetic anomalies, and the mummification techniques themselves might reflect the unique customs of the Nazca people. But the ongoing questions about the purpose of these bodies, why they were preserved in such an extraordinary manner, remain unanswered. What if the Nazca mummies are not just simple remains, but something far more significant? Could they represent a lost connection between ancient civilizations and knowledge long since forgotten? Or perhaps they are evidence of a forgotten race, one that existed before the Nazca and left behind a trail of mysteries to be uncovered millennia later. As the mummies lie quietly in their tombs, preserved by the dry desert air, the truth behind their unusual features continues to elude us. Are they the result of cultural practices, genetic anomalies, or something far more extraordinary? What, if anything, do they have to tell us about the ancient civilizations that once thrived in the shadow of the Nazca lines? And what secrets remain hidden in the sands of the desert, waiting to be uncovered? And as the mystery of the Nazca mummies lingers, their three-toed feet and elongated heads still waiting for an answer, we turn to a different land, one that lies at the crossroads of ancient civilizations, where the sands of time hold an even deeper, more perplexing secret. In the vast, desolate expanse of the Tarim Basin, located in modern-day Xinjiang, China, a series of remarkable mummies were discovered in the 20th century, mummies whose very appearance defied the conventional understanding of human migration and cultural evolution. The Tarim mummies are unlike anything typically associated with the region, offering not just a glimpse into the distant past, but a puzzle that has baffled scholars and archaeologists for decades. The Tarim Basin is a harsh and remote area, surrounded by towering mountains and expansive deserts. It is here, in the Uyghur Autonomous Region of China, that a remarkable discovery was made in mound tombs along the northern edge of the Taklamakan Desert. These mummies, ranging from 2,000 to 3,000 years old, were found buried in the dry, salty earth, where the intense climate has served as a natural preservative. What makes them so extraordinary is not just their remarkable preservation, but their distinctly European appearance. When researchers uncovered the mummies, they were astonished to find that the remains bore features that were strikingly Caucasoid, with light hair, fair skin, and elongated bodies. These were not the physical characteristics typically associated with the peoples of Central Asia or East Asia. Instead, they resembled people from Europe, with one mummy in particular, the Churchin man, noted for his red hair and blue eyes, making it seem as if they were not just distant ancestors of the people of the region, but possibly people who had crossed vast distances to reach this remote land. The Tarim mummies were part of a larger culture, one that had built sophisticated settlements, traded goods, and practiced a combination of funeral rites and rituals that were uncommon for the surrounding areas. They were found wearing intricately woven woolen garments, some even featuring highly decorated textiles that suggest the existence of an advanced, albeit little-known, civilization. Mainstream scholars often explain the Tarim mummies as the remains of an ancient Indo-European population that migrated eastward across the Eurasian steppe, reaching as far as the Tarim Basin. They point to trade routes like the Silk Road, which were already in place long before the rise of the great empires, as the pathways through which these people could have traveled. The appearance of the mummies, in this case, is often attributed to a slow blending of populations over centuries of interaction, facilitated by these expansive trade networks. But this explanation only scratches the surface. The more we study the mummies, the more questions arise. How did these people, with their European-like features, come to be buried in this isolated desert region? Were they part of a group that settled here long before the arrival of the Han Chinese? Or did they cross vast distances in waves of migration, carrying their genetic heritage and cultural practices with them? More intriguing still is the presence of elaborate burial practices that do not align with those of other early cultures in Central Asia. The Tarim mummies were laid to rest in wooden coffins and placed in carefully organized graves. Some of the tombs were filled with rich grave goods, such as bronze tools, textiles, and ceramics, suggesting that the culture was well established and involved in intricate rituals of death and the afterlife. The mummies themselves were buried with strange artifacts, including wooden effigies, sacred objects, and personal items that suggest a highly developed spiritual belief system. Some researchers propose that these people might have belonged to a shamanistic tradition, where individuals were buried with goods meant to facilitate their journey to the afterlife, and perhaps to honor their status within the tribe or community. But still, why were these practices so distinct, and what were the origins of such spiritual traditions? As with many ancient discoveries, fringe theories have flourished around the Tarim mummies. Some argue that these mummies may not be the remains of a simple nomadic people, but evidence of a lost civilization, one that was far more advanced than the surrounding cultures of the time. Could the Tarim mummies be the remnants of a forgotten kingdom or empire that once dominated the region, its legacy erased by time and the ravages of history? Others have speculated that the unusual features of the mummies could point to an even more exotic origin, some suggesting that they may represent a connection to ancient extraterrestrial visitors. These ideas, though lacking solid evidence, often arise from the way the mummy's features seem to defy known historical migration patterns, suggesting that these ancient peoples might have traveled or been part of a broader, more mysterious cultural movement that we are only beginning to understand. The Tarim mummies, with their enigmatic origins and the mysteries of their burial practices, continue to captivate and confound those who study them. What drove these people to travel so far, to settle in such a remote desert, and to leave behind such a sophisticated culture? The answers remain elusive as the mummies rest quietly in their tombs, preserved by the dry desert air, their features still holding the secrets of a long-forgotten chapter of human history. Are they simply the remnants of an ancient people whose story has been lost to time, or do they represent something much more profound, something that has yet to be uncovered in the shifting sands of the Tarim Basin? And as we leave the enigmatic mummies of the Tarim Basin, we now shift our gaze toward a vast, arid plain, an expanse of desert in southern Peru, where the Nazca lines stretch across the landscape like a grand, mysterious blueprint etched into the earth itself. These geoglyphs, visible only from above, have long been a subject of fascination, prompting wonder about their creators, their purpose, and the meaning behind their striking designs. The Nazca lines are a series of enormous, ancient geoglyphs, figures, shapes, and lines carved into the desert floor of the Nazca Plateau. They range from simple straight lines to highly complex shapes, including geometric patterns, animals, and even human-like figures. The most famous of these is the monkey, a figure with a winding tail and curved limbs, stretching over 100 meters in length. Other prominent figures include a hummingbird, a spider, and a whale, all etched with a precision that raises questions about how such detailed work could have been accomplished over 2,000 years ago. Discovered in the 1920s, these geoglyphs are believed to have been created by the Nazca culture between 500 BCE and 500 CE, though their full purpose and meaning remain elusive. The Nazca people were known for their advanced irrigation techniques, pottery, and textile artistry, yet the purpose of the lines continues to intrigue archaeologists and historians. The Nazca lines cover an area of approximately 450 square kilometers, and some of the lines stretch for miles, with many of the figures appearing more clearly only from the sky. This has led to the intriguing question: how did the Nazca people, without the aerial view available to modern humans, design such enormous and intricate figures? Mainstream scholars offer several theories, each based on the landscape and the culture of the Nazca people. One of the most widely accepted explanations is that the lines were created for ritualistic or religious purposes, perhaps as offerings to the gods. The shapes and figures could represent deities, animals that held symbolic significance, or celestial bodies. Some scholars suggest that the geoglyphs were connected to the Nazca's water rituals, as water was a sacred element in this arid desert region. The lines may have been part of a broader spiritual system, designed to attract rainfall or guide the souls of the deceased into the afterlife. The astronomical theories also abound. The Nazca lines are believed by some to align with the positions of the sun, moon, and stars, suggesting that they might have served as a form of astronomical calendar. Lines and figures such as the spider and monkey have been linked to constellations or celestial events, possibly marking the changing seasons or important agricultural dates. This theory posits that the lines were intended to help the Nazca people track the movements of the heavens, guiding them in their farming practices and ritual observances. But while these theories offer insight into the possible functions of the Nazca lines, they do little to fully explain their scale or precise alignment. For how, in a time before modern technology, did the Nazca people manage to create such vast and accurate lines? How did they ensure that the figures would align perfectly when viewed from above, without the advantage of aerial observation? This question has led to more speculative and controversial ideas. Some suggest that the Nazca lines were created not just for practical purposes, but to communicate with forces beyond human reach, whether the gods or even extraterrestrial beings. These theories argue that the precision of the lines especially their alignment with celestial bodies, could suggest that the Nazca people had a deeper understanding of the cosmos, possibly given to them by visitors from other worlds. Such ideas are often associated with the broader theory of ancient astronauts, which proposes that advanced beings from other planets influenced ancient human cultures. Was it possible that the Nazca lines were part of a larger communication system, perhaps intended to be seen from the sky, marking the Earth with messages meant for a higher intelligence? Even more intriguing is the question of the motivation behind such monumental efforts. Why did the Nazca people expend so much energy to create these figures, which could only be fully appreciated from the sky? Were the lines merely symbols of devotion, or could they have been used for something far more practical, like guiding travelers across the desert or marking sacred pathways? And then, there is the question of the discovery of the lines themselves. While the Nazca people must have known of their existence, the modern rediscovery of these lines, when aircraft flew over the region in the 1920s, raises the possibility that the Nazca might have used some form of visual aid to design the figures, possibly passing down knowledge through oral tradition or secret rituals. The Nazca lines stand as a testament to human ingenuity, but also as a reminder of just how little we truly know about the ancient world. Their meaning, purpose, and origins remain shrouded in mystery, as though they are a message from the past, waiting to be deciphered. What exactly were the Nazca trying to convey through these vast, intricate drawings? Were they simple religious symbols, or something far more profound, an ancient language or cosmic communication system? And could there be more to discover, hidden beneath the sands, waiting for the right moment to reveal its secrets? As the wind sweeps across the desert, erasing traces of time, the Nazca lines remain, an enduring puzzle, their true purpose just beyond our reach, yet still calling to us from the distant past. What might still be hidden in the lines etched into the earth, waiting for us to unravel their meaning? And as the ancient Nazca lines stretch across the Peruvian desert, casting their shadow over the earth, we now turn our gaze to another mysterious natural phenomenon, a place where the land itself seems to defy the laws of nature, where movement, in its purest form, becomes a silent enigma. In the heart of Death Valley, California, nestled within the racetrack playa, a curious and seemingly inexplicable phenomenon occurs. The sailing stones, large flat rocks, some weighing several hundred pounds, mysteriously move across the desert floor, leaving long trails behind them. These trails are not the result of human activity, nor do they seem to be caused by any obvious natural force. The stones appear to glide effortlessly across the playa, leaving behind marks in the dry, cracked mud that stretch for distances of up to several hundred meters. The rocks themselves seem to be frozen in time, their journey appearing to take place over long periods, sometimes over the course of a few days, sometimes stretching across decades. What makes this even more intriguing is that the stones, despite their weight and seemingly immovable nature, leave no visible tracks of any external force, no footprints, no disturbances in the surrounding soil. They simply move, leaving behind only their ghostly trails on the cracked surface of the desert floor. For years, the mystery of the sailing stones remained unsolved, with many speculating about the cause of their movement. One popular explanation that surfaced was that the stones were moving as a result of high winds. It was suggested that, during particularly strong windstorms, the stones would be carried across the playa by gusts of wind strong enough to slide them along the mud. This theory seemed plausible, until closer inspection revealed that the trails left behind by the stones often showed sharp turns and irregular paths, which could not be explained by the simple push of the wind. Another possible explanation involved the interaction of ice and water. In 2014, a team of scientists set out to study the phenomenon more closely, using high-speed cameras and time-lapse photography. They discovered that under specific conditions, Thin sheets of ice would form on the surface of the playa overnight during cold desert nights. As the sun rose, the ice would begin to melt and break apart, creating conditions in which the stones could slide. This discovery provided a partial answer, yet it still did not fully explain why the stones sometimes moved in such precise and varied directions, nor did it account for why some stones appeared to move when the ice conditions seemed to be less than ideal. So, while the ice theory has gained traction, it remains only a partial explanation. What remains truly perplexing about the sailing stones is their mysterious timing and behavior. The stones do not move regularly or predictably, and their movement does not always seem to correlate with weather patterns, ice formation, or wind strength. Sometimes the stones remain stationary for years, only to start moving suddenly for no clear reason, while other stones move with a fluidity that seems almost purposeful, as though they are being guided by an unseen hand. This unpredictability has led some to speculate even further, to suggest that the sailing stones might not simply be subject to natural forces, but that they could be interacting with unknown energies. Could there be something deeper at play, perhaps related to the magnetic properties of the Earth, or to the interaction between the stone and the mineral-rich landscape? Some fringe theories propose that these stones could be moving due to earthly vibrations, shifts in the Earth's crust, or even seismic activity too subtle to be detected by human instruments. Could these seemingly inert objects be reacting to forces far beyond our comprehension? Still, despite these theories, no one has been able to provide a definitive answer to the mystery. The sailing stones continue to defy explanation, moving across the surface of racetrack playa in an enigmatic dance that remains largely unexplained by science. As more studies are conducted, we may yet find the true cause of their movement, or we may discover something even more puzzling, an answer that raises more questions than it resolves. Could there be forces at play here that we are only beginning to understand? Forces beyond the traditional explanations of wind, ice, and gravity. And if the answer lies deeper than the conventional theories, what might we uncover about the very nature of movement, energy, and the land itself? As the stones glide silently across the desert floor, leaving their trails behind, the mystery remains, as unfathomable as the desert winds that carry them. And as the mystery of the sailing stones slips further into the shifting sands of the desert, we turn now to another enigma, this time carved into the very rock of the earth itself. In the quiet hills of Scotland, far from the bustling cities, there lies a stone that has long been the subject of intrigue and wonder. The Cockno Stone, located near the village of Old Kilpatrick, is a large flat slab of sandstone, its surface covered in a series of intricate carvings that appear to tell a story, or perhaps to serve as some sort of map or guide. The stone, which measures about 5 meters in length and 3 meters in width, is buried beneath grass and dirt. But for centuries, it has been the subject of local lore and scholarly interest. Its carvings, representing spirals, circles, and lines, are widely believed to date back to the Neolithic period, making it over 5,000 years old. When it was first uncovered in 1887, the Cockno Stone immediately drew attention for the complexity and variety of the symbols on its surface. The carvings are unlike anything else in the area, with no clear comparison to other known Neolithic sites. The stone features spirals, cup marks, and linear motifs that suggest a deep understanding of geometry, astronomy, and possibly even sacred rituals. Yet, despite decades of study, the exact meaning of these markings remains as elusive as ever. Mainstream scholars typically view the Cockno Stone as a form of rock art, a representation of symbolic or spiritual beliefs from the Neolithic people who lived in this part of Scotland. Some argue that the carvings are connected to astronomical alignments, possibly used to mark solstices or equinoxes, while others suggest that the motifs reflect a shamanistic or ritualistic purpose, intended to represent the life cycle or the transition from life to death. The stone's location, with its views over the surrounding hills and valleys, further supports the idea that it may have been a ceremonial site, one that marked a significant space within the landscape. Yet, despite these rational explanations, the mystery of the Kokno stone deepens when we consider its hidden history. In the mid-20th century, during roadworks near the site, it was rediscovered, but only after it had been buried once more to protect it from the elements. In the 1960s, the stone was again buried for preservation, its exact location becoming the subject of much speculation. Why, after such a careful excavation, was the stone hidden away again? And more intriguingly, why was the Kokno stone not placed on public display, despite its significance? Theories have begun to circulate, suggesting that the carvings may hold a more profound meaning, one that might go beyond simple symbolic representations. Some researchers have proposed that the stone could be an astronomical calendar, much like the ancient megaliths of other cultures. Could the Kokno stone be a relic of an ancient sacred system of knowledge, encoding a map to a hidden location, or offering a glimpse into a long-lost understanding of the heavens? Others suggest that the markings on the stone might represent a ritualistic or cultic map, indicating sacred places or the journeys of religious figures. Fringe theories have taken the mystery even further, proposing that the Kokno stone may hold secrets far beyond ancient religious beliefs. Some speculate that the carvings might be a kind of alien message, a communication from extraterrestrial beings, or a coded message intended to be understood only by those with a higher knowledge of the cosmos. The intricate patterns and their symmetry, when viewed from certain angles, could be interpreted as a form of sacred geometry or a mathematical language, offering insights into a civilization with a level of knowledge we can scarcely comprehend. The mystery of the Kokno stone also sparks questions about the nature of ancient cultural exchange. Did the Neolithic people who created the stone have knowledge or contact with distant civilizations, perhaps even advanced societies whose influence spread across continents? Could these carvings represent a shared cultural heritage lost to time that connects us to a wider, more interconnected ancient world? While mainstream scholars suggest a more grounded interpretation of the stone's carvings, the questions linger. The Kokno stone was deliberately hidden. Whether to protect it or to keep its message concealed remains unclear. What does it contain that we are not meant to fully understand? The stone lies buried once again, its symbols waiting to reveal their meaning to those willing to look beyond the surface. Is it simply an ancient artifact, a relic of a long-gone culture? Or could it be a key to understanding something far more profound about the ancient world and our place within it? As we stand before the earth where the Kokno stone lies hidden, we are left to wonder, what mysteries remain beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? What ancient wisdom, encoded in stone, still waits for us to decipher its secrets? And as the mystery of the Kokno stone continues to spark curiosity, we turn now to an ancient and enigmatic concept, one that reaches across time and space, bringing us to the rich, mystical landscapes of ancient India. Here, in the sacred texts and legends of one of the world's oldest civilizations, there are tales of flying machines, powerful weapons, and celestial battles. These stories describe Vimanas, mythical flying chariots that soar through the skies, often piloted by gods or revered heroes. Vimanas are first mentioned in the Vedic texts, sacred scriptures that form the foundation of Hinduism, dating back thousands of years. In these texts, particularly the Rig Veda and the Mahabharata, Vimanas are described as celestial vehicles capable of rapid flight, often moving between worlds and dimensions. They are depicted as wondrous, highly advanced machines, with descriptions that seem to blend the divine with the technological. Some Vimanas are said to have had the ability to travel at great speeds, make sudden turns, and even disappear at will. They are often associated with gods, sages, and kings, seen as the ultimate vehicles of power and might. One of the most famous references to Vimanas comes from the Mahabharata, an ancient epic that recounts the great war between two families. In the text, Arjuna, one of the heroes, is said to have traveled in a Vimana called the Vajra, a weaponized flying chariot used in battle. The descriptions of Vimanas in the Mahabharata and other texts are so detailed that they include mechanisms for propulsion, navigation systems, and even weaponry that seem reminiscent of modern-day aircraft or spacecraft. There are accounts of Vimanas capable of firing fiery weapons that could devastate entire armies, resembling what we might consider modern missiles or lasers. These stories have led some scholars to suggest that the Vimanas could be representations of ancient technological advancements, possibly referring to real, albeit lost, machines of flight. But the question remains, were these stories symbolic of divine power, or could they point to a forgotten era of advanced technology, one that predates modern civilization? Mainstream historians often interpret Vimanas as mythological constructs, symbolic of the divine ability to transcend earthly limitations rather than physical objects. According to this view, Vimanas represent the power of the gods to travel through the skies and between worlds, echoing the concept of the divine chariot found in many ancient cultures. However, these interpretations often fail to explain the highly technical nature of the descriptions, including intricate details about their design and functionality. This gap between myth and reality has led to a surge of speculative theories. Some claim that Vimanas were ancient flying machines, possibly built by a highly advanced civilization that existed long before the recorded history we know today. These theories argue that the Vimanas could have been powered by a form of lost energy or antiquated technology, capable of harnessing forces that modern science is only beginning to understand. Could the Vimanas have been part of an ancient spacefaring culture, one that used these crafts to travel not only across Earth, but across the cosmos? Further fueling the mystery, some fringe theories suggest that the Vimanas were alien craft, given their descriptions of advanced weaponry and seemingly supernatural powers. According to this theory, the Vimanas may have been the vehicles of extraterrestrial visitors who shared their knowledge with the ancient Indian civilizations, leaving behind a trail of mythical stories that have been passed down through generations. Yet, even with the many theories that abound, no conclusive evidence has surfaced to verify the existence of Vimanas as physical objects. Archaeologists have found no remains of advanced flying machines in ancient Indian sites, nor have any artifacts directly linked to Vimanas been uncovered. Still, the detailed descriptions in the ancient texts continue to captivate those who believe in a deeper connection between the ancient world and advanced technologies. What if the stories of Vimanas are not mere legend, but a glimpse into an ancient, highly advanced culture, one whose knowledge has been lost to time? Could there be ancient blueprints hidden in forgotten temples or buried in long-lost scriptures that reveal the secrets of this lost technology? Or are the Vimanas simply symbols, mythical creations meant to represent the divine power of gods who move across the heavens? As we delve deeper into the stories of the Vimanas, we are left with the lingering question: were these flying chariots the stuff of gods, or were they something more? A legacy of a lost civilization, waiting for us to rediscover their hidden truths. And as the tales of Vimanas in ancient India stir our imaginations, we now turn our attention to another mystery, one that stretches even further back in time, to a lost civilization that flourished in the Indus Valley, long before the rise of Egypt or Mesopotamia. In the heart of this ancient world lies the city of Mohenjo-Daro, one of the key sites of the Indus Valley civilization, a place where history, technology, and mystery collide. Mohenjo-Daro, located in what is now Pakistan, was once a thriving urban center, with its origins dating back to around 2500 BCE. The city is renowned for its advanced infrastructure, grid-like streets, well-planned drainage systems, and impressive buildings, which suggest that the Indus Valley people were among the most technologically advanced of their time. But while the city's design and organization are impressive, it is the manner of its abandonment and the mysterious signs of destruction that have sparked intense debate among historians and archaeologists. When Mohenjo-Daro was rediscovered in the 1920s, excavations revealed a city that had been abruptly abandoned, its inhabitants leaving behind their homes, tools, and possessions. Many of the buildings were found in a state of partial ruin, with signs of what appeared to be violent destruction, including collapsed walls and charred remains. Some of the skeletal remains found at the site appeared to have been buried suddenly, with no apparent explanation for the sudden exodus of the city's population. What is perhaps most unsettling about Mohenjo-Daro is the discovery of radiation-like traces in certain parts of the city, particularly around the ruins of some of the most heavily damaged buildings. In the 1970s, a researcher named David Davenport found evidence of elevated radiation levels in the area surrounding Mohenjo-Daro, leading to speculation that the city may have been the site of an ancient nuclear disaster. The idea that an ancient civilization may have been exposed to some form of nuclear radiation seems far-fetched, but the evidence, though controversial, has ignited further interest in the possibility that Mohenjo-Daro could have been the victim of a catastrophic event, possibly similar to a nuclear explosion. Mainstream historians have typically dismissed the nuclear theory, suggesting that the signs of destruction in Mohenjo-Daro could have been the result of more conventional factors, such as earthquakes, flooding, or warfare. They point to the discovery of baked brick walls, which some believe could have been caused by high temperatures from a fire, not a nuclear explosion. However, others have questioned this explanation, pointing to the intensity of the damage in specific areas of the city, which seems inconsistent with the more localized effects of a fire or earthquake. In addition to the potential radiation anomalies, the city's sudden abandonment has led some to wonder whether Mohenjo-Daro's downfall was linked to a weapon of mass destruction, possibly a type of nuclear weapon used in a long-lost ancient conflict. The eerie silence that followed the collapse of Mohenjo-Daro suggests a form of destruction that went beyond mere environmental factors. Could it be that the people of the Indus Valley civilization had access to advanced technology far beyond what we have historically credited them with? Some fringe theories have gone even further, proposing that the Indus Valley civilization was part of an advanced, now lost culture that had discovered the secret of nuclear energy thousands of years ago. According to these ideas, the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, with their unexplained destruction, are the remains of an ancient nuclear war, where devastating weapons were used by ancient civilizations that knew far more about atomic energy than we have been led to believe. While these theories remain speculative, they add another layer of intrigue to the mystery of Mohenjo-Daro. The city's advanced planning, coupled with the strange evidence of destruction and the potential radiation readings, suggests that there is much more to uncover beneath the surface. Did the people of Mohenjo-Daro possess knowledge of advanced technologies that were lost with the collapse of their civilization? Was their sudden disappearance the result of a catastrophic event, one that we are only beginning to understand? As we continue to explore Mohenjo-Daro, we are left with the lingering question: could the remnants of this ancient city be the survivors of a civilization that reached heights of technology we have only just begun to comprehend? Or was the city's downfall the result of something more mundane, something that will remain buried under the sands of time? The answers may lie hidden beneath the rubble, waiting to be uncovered, if we dare to look deeper into the shadows of this ancient and mysterious past. And as we leave the enigmatic ruins of Mohenjo-Daro behind, with their whispered secrets of ancient destruction, we now turn to another set of mysteries, one that lies within the very structure and design of the ancient temples scattered across the world. These sacred sites, built thousands of years ago, have long been revered not just for their spiritual significance, but also for the acoustic properties they seem to possess, properties that have puzzled researchers and explorers for centuries. Imagine stepping into the vast expanse of the Temple of Karnak in Luxor, Egypt, one of the most remarkable and awe-inspiring sights of the ancient world. The massive columns rise up like giants, their surfaces covered in hieroglyphs and intricate carvings, telling stories of gods and pharaohs. But as you stand there in the silence, something almost imperceptible happens. When you speak, the sound seems to resonate and echo in a way that feels unnatural, almost as if the temple itself is alive and responding to your voice. You may feel as though the stone walls are amplifying your presence, making your words seem more powerful, more significant. This strange phenomenon is not unique to Karnak. Across the world, ancient temples, from the pyramids of Giza to the Machu Picchu in Peru, to the temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, seem to possess a curious characteristic. Their acoustics are fine-tuned in such a way that sound behaves unusually inside them. Some temples, for example, have been found to amplify specific frequencies, while others seem to create a resonance that magnifies sound in ways that modern buildings cannot replicate. The acoustics of ancient temples have long intrigued researchers, leading to theories about the purpose of these sonic effects. Mainstream explanations often focus on the possibility that the acoustics were carefully engineered by the ancient builders for ritualistic or ceremonial purposes. In ancient Egypt, for example, priests are thought to have used the temple's acoustics to enhance the experience of chanting or prayer. The reverberation of sound could have created an environment that amplified the spiritual significance of the rituals, allowing the sound of the prayers to fill the space in ways that connected worshippers to the divine. In some cultures, it is believed that specific sounds could influence the environment in a way that would facilitate spiritual enlightenment or even healing. In Machu Picchu, researchers have noted that certain spots within the temple complex produce echoes that align with celestial events, such as the summer solstice. Some have even proposed that the ancient builders of Machu Picchu might have used these acoustic effects to communicate with the gods, creating a deeper connection between the earth and the heavens. Could these sonic effects have been intentional, part of a sacred knowledge lost to time? Beyond spiritual rituals, some have suggested that the acoustic properties of these ancient sites might have served a functional purpose, such as communication over long distances or the amplification of public announcements. This theory posits that the temples, with their vast courtyards and towering structures, were designed to carry sound over large areas, allowing the priests or rulers to communicate to large crowds without the aid of modern microphones or loudspeakers. Yet, despite these mainstream explanations, there are theories that venture into more speculative realms. Some researchers have begun to wonder if the acoustics of these temples are connected to advanced technology, possibly lost to history. Could the ancient Egyptians, the Maya, or the builders of Angkor Wat have understood a form of sound manipulation or resonance technology that allowed them to harness the power of sound for purposes beyond simple ritual or communication? Could the temples have been designed to interact with the Earth's natural frequencies, unlocking powers of energy that we have yet to fully understand? In some fringe theories, the temple acoustics are linked to energy fields or even gravitational waves, suggesting that the ancient builders might have constructed these spaces not just for the human voice, but to harness unseen forces, creating a connection between sound, energy, and the physical world. Could the resonance properties of these temples have been part of a lost science, one that we are only now beginning to rediscover? Was the manipulation of sound in these ancient spaces a way to communicate with forces beyond our understanding, or perhaps even with extraterrestrial beings. Even more curious are the reports of vibrational sensations experienced by visitors to these ancient sites. Some people report a strange sense of euphoria or heightened consciousness when standing in certain areas of the temples, as if the vibrations in the air are interacting with the human body in subtle and profound ways. Could this be a remnant of a technology that was once used to influence the human mind, inducing states of meditation, healing, or even altering perception? The mystery of the acoustics of ancient temples remains far from resolved. While we have made great strides in understanding the engineering behind these sites, their true purpose, whether rooted in spirituality, communication, or something far more mysterious, remains elusive. Could the builders of these ancient temples have had knowledge of sound, vibration, and energy that we are only beginning to understand? What might the sacred acoustics of these temples tell us about the lost wisdom of ancient civilizations and the deeper connection between sound, space, and the unseen forces of the universe? As we continue to explore these ancient sites, the echoes of the past still resonate, waiting to reveal their secrets. And as we leave the ancient acoustics of temples behind, where sound and structure seem to converge in mysterious harmony, we now turn to an enigma that lies beneath the waters, a submerged formation off the coast of the Bahamas, near the island of Bimini. Here, just below the surface of the turquoise waters, stretches a strange underwater formation, the Bimini Road, a series of rectangular limestone blocks that seem unnaturally aligned, as though they were placed there by human hands, forming what appears to be an ancient pathway or road. The discovery of the Bimini Road in the 1960s instantly sparked fascination and intrigue. Scattered over a length of about 800 meters, these large flat stones resemble a paved road or a pier, leading some to believe that they could be the remnants of a lost civilization or perhaps even part of the mythical Atlantis. The formation sits in just 5 to 15 meters of water, making it accessible for divers, and its unusual shape, seemingly laid out in parallel lines with right angles, has raised questions about its true origins. The mainstream explanation for the Bimini Road is that it is a natural formation, a kind of geological feature created by the way the limestone rocks fractured and eroded over thousands of years. Scientists suggest that the blocks are the result of reef formation processes and tectonic activity, and that their appearance as a road is merely a coincidence. According to this view, the natural forces of the sea shaped the limestone in such a way that it appears to resemble man-made structures, but it is entirely the result of natural geological processes. Yet, despite the geological explanations, the Bimini Road's symmetrical alignment and clear, man-made appearance have continued to intrigue those who believe it might be something far more ancient and mysterious. The idea that it could be the remnants of an ancient civilization, perhaps the legendary Atlantis, has persisted, fueled by the belief that the story of Atlantis, as told by Plato, may be more than just myth. According to these theories, the Bimini Road could be the remains of a submerged city or port, perhaps from a time when the area was above water, thousands of years before the rise of known civilizations. Plato's account of Atlantis speaks of a vast, technologically advanced civilization that existed long before recorded history, and some believe that the Bimini Road might be one of the last remnants of this lost world. The symmetry of the formation, as well as the positioning of the stones, seems so deliberate that it's difficult to dismiss the possibility that they were crafted by humans, perhaps even a civilization with advanced engineering skills lost to time. Fringe theories surrounding the Bimini Road delve even further into the idea of ancient, lost technologies. Some suggest that the stones may be part of an energy grid, or that they were built to serve some kind of powerful purpose, possibly related to sacred geometry or magnetism. These theories often point to the alignment of the stones, theorizing that they may have been designed to tap into Earth's natural energies or to serve as a transmission system for energy or communication. Some even speculate that the formation could have been designed to interact with celestial forces as a kind of bridge between the heavens and the Earth, using the alignment of the stones to harness the power of the stars or the planets. In addition, there are those who suggest that the Bimini Road could be connected to ancient knowledge of navigation or astronomy, and that it might have served as a pathway for ships or celestial travelers, guiding them across the oceans or between distant lands. The concept of ancient civilizations possessing advanced maritime skills or astronomical knowledge is not new, and the Bimini Road's curious alignment has led some to propose that it could have been part of a larger, now lost network of ancient seafaring routes, one that was forgotten and submerged under the rising seas. Despite numerous investigations and studies over the years, the true nature of the Bimini Road remains unresolved. No definitive evidence has been uncovered to confirm or disprove any of the theories about its origins, and the formation continues to sit beneath the surface of the Caribbean, its secrets buried in the sands of time and water. What if the Bimini Road is not merely a natural formation, but something far older? Something that links us to a lost civilization, a piece of human history that has yet to be fully uncovered. Could it be the remains of a forgotten city, a port, or a sacred site whose purpose was tied to something far beyond our understanding? Or could the Bimini Road be a testament to the ancient wisdom of a civilization whose knowledge we have only just begun to scratch the surface of? As the waves lap against the shore and the sun sets over the horizon, the Bimini Road continues to rest silently beneath the water, waiting for us to dive deeper into its mystery. What truths still lie hidden beneath the surface? And what might we discover if we dare to look closer?